seeing the entire villainous family sealed off, she diligently played the role of the malicious adopted daughter to save her life. Unexpectedly, she overdid it and accidentally became the family's laughingstock. But the moment she opened her eyes, she was warned to quickly learn the family rules if she wanted to survive. The other person, with their dark hair and scheming eyes, was just like her favorite character, Heron. He was the ruler of the Northern Belative family and adopted the female protagonist, Viola. Viola was exceptionally talented and ultimately seized control of Beletu. But she wasn't happy, because aside from Beletu, she lost everything. She felt heartbroken for Viola's plight and fantasized that if it were her, she would give everyone a happy ending. Looking at her small hands, could it be that she had become Viola in her dream? And she knew Heron adopted her because he saw the girl's potential as a genius assassin, and she could also stimulate the growth of the direct lineage. Since it was a dream, she would do as she pleased. She suddenly called out to the man, smiling sweetly, "Are you my daddy now?" Hearing Heron's affirmation and thinking of the female protagonist who wanted to eliminate the direct lineage and take over. She only wanted to be his daughter. Even in a dream, she wanted to help him achieve this. So the girl boldly questioned, "I heard the Beletu family values rationality above all else. So why don't I have the right to choose my daddy?" Her assertiveness startled the man. The butler standing beside them was displeased. His sharp gaze warned her not to speak nonsense. But she knew that Heron preferred bold provocation to silent obedience. With the air of a small adult, she lectured, "Beleta emphasizes the survival of the fittest, even encouraging killing among siblings. They only focus on rational choices and the family's interests like cold-blooded tools. Am I right?" Hearing this, the man compromised and asked, "Will you be my daughter?" She agreed without hesitation. Her quick response piqued the Duke's curiosity, because Daddy is handsome. In reality, he was her favorite character. The room fell silent. She emphasized again, "Becoming your daughter is my choice, not yours." The man nodded in resignation. Then one last request. "I won't make you regret bringing me back, but don't treat me like some kind of high-quality stimulant. I want you to truly love me." She wanted to fulfill Viola's dream. Not just be my daddy in name, but become a real father. Only the tense sound of heartbeats filled the air. She couldn't help but mentally applaud herself. Unexpectedly, the man chuckled darkly. Interesting. A surge of killing intent instantly enveloped the girl. A tearing pain shot through her body. It was just a dream. How could it hurt so much? She vaguely heard the man praise her endurance. She felt suffocated, dare to vanish. He gasped, struggling to stay alive. "I won't kill you myself." She wondered why this dream felt so vivid. Transmigrated as the villainous adopted daughter of the Fengpi family, she initially planned to maintain her persona and protect her life. Yet, she unexpectedly charmed countless madmen and became their beloved pet. He was born with blood-red pupils. With just shards of glass, he killed the slave traders who kidnapped him. An untrained 7-year-old child, he seemed like a natural-born killer. Finding it incredible, the man adopted him. But his mature thinking wasn't like a child's at all. Hearing this, the butler recalled the conversation, where the girl, though slightly nervous, still boldly negotiated with the Duke. Only unwavering spiritual strength can conquer fear. Even the discerning butler's opinion of the girl softened slightly. The Duke, however, found himself recalling the image of her clinging to his sleeve, pleading for his love. No one in the Beleta family had ever been so forthright. She had blatantly declared her desire to be loved by him. The man suddenly felt an overwhelming curiosity. What were the odds of her surviving in the Beleta household? This prompted the butler to ponder, while the girl panicked, wondering why she hadn't woken up from this dream yet. It had already been 2 days. Could this be the legendary transmigration? And to transmigrate into Viola, the adopted daughter of the iron-blooded Duke, infamous for the massacre of 10,000 people? She forced herself to calm down. This was a place where she could prove her abilities, a place where she could survive. First, she had to make the lunatics of the Beleta family acknowledge her as one of their own. Then, she needed to push the head made into the position of successor. After all, if it weren't for Viola, he would have smoothly become the heir. Once the heir was chosen, the war between the siblings would finally end. She didn't want to end up like Viola, losing everything. What was the point of surviving if no one remained by her side? In her past life, she had been abandoned by her parents, enduring a difficult childhood filled with mockery and a lack of love. Despite that, she had studied hard and become the envy of everyone. Who would have thought she'd wake up in a novel? This time, she had a family, a father. Surely, this life would be better than the last. Quickly adjusting her mindset, she recalled the novel's plot, remembering the Duke asking the butler about her survival rate. The answer he received was less than 10%. Even Viola's survival rate was that low. It spoke volumes about the terrifying nature of this place. Even the butler in the study had estimated it to be less than 40%. At this point, she was unaware of how well she was playing the role of the adopted daughter. She was doing an exceptionally good job. Heron, however, possessed the ability to see through people's hearts. He could discern Viola's genuine desire for family and her deep affection for him. He didn't understand where these emotions stemmed from. He even considered her his favorite. So, he assigned Jin-on to the girl as her official butler. The butler was momentarily startled. He felt it was a waste of talent, but he couldn't disobey the Duke's orders. He was also preparing to welcome the arrival of the first lunatic character. To survive, she pretended to be a vicious, ruthless young lady. As a result, she unexpectedly became the pampered darling of the eccentric family. Even the formidable and highly skilled Jin-on was assigned to her as a personal butler by her old man. The lunatic and the one feigning lunacy met. The man's smile concealed a hint of danger. Did the young lady herself open the door for me? Next time, simply give the order. The one opening the door should be Jin-on. Hearing this, she instantly understood that the test had begun. In the book, he was a ruthless individual who had slain countless first-rate knights. Initially, he didn't acknowledge Viola as a member of the Beleta family. He constantly evaluated Viola to determine if she was worthy of being his master. So, this matter can't just be brushed aside. Are you reprimanding me now? His ruthlessness and perceptiveness pleased her. She lowered her head and admitted her mistake. He pressed his advantage, explaining that Jinin's role was to advise, not to reprimand. She knew clearly that to survive in the Beleta household, she had to maintain both prestige and authority and turn those around her into her allies. And Jinin's role is to ensure his master becomes the heir. Failure means death. Success means wielding supreme power. Therefore, she had to gain his approval. I've heard that Jinin's role is particularly crucial, so I wanted to confirm what it looked like with my own eyes. That's why I opened the door myself. The man knelt on one knee. This beguiling smile, this is what I look like. Viola didn't hold back her praise, but at the same time, she delivered a subtle warning. He didn't care about the content of her words, but he couldn't stand her attitude. A powerful killing intent startled the man, momentarily stunning him. When the killing intent flared, her pupils should have turned red. That's the characteristic of a born killer. But her pupils hadn't changed color. He could feel the intense pressure, but it only excited him more. Viola declared, "I'm going to give you your first order." Despite the turmoil of emotions and shock, he calmly agreed with a smile. "Go, and bring me a cool pen and the red clam poison." It was a potent neurotoxin. The man's gaze seemed to pierce through her. He turned, a pointed question in his tone. "What role do you play in this household?" "The role of assisting and monitoring the maids. So be true to your role. Do what you're supposed to do." Hearing this, the man obediently refrained from further questions. It will take approximately 12 minutes. After the man left, Viola wiped the cold sweat from her brow, still shaken. The man returned precisely on time, not a second more, and handed her everything. According to the plot, the twisted fifth son, Wei Jin, would arrive tomorrow. He had been trained to kill from birth, raised to be an innocent-looking killing machine. But having him here should be enough, she thought. She vowed to do everything in her power to survive. Playing the part of a lunatic in a family of lunatics, she had perfectly tamed a top-tier assassin into being her butler. Yet the innocent-looking killing machine, Wei Jin, had come knocking. Viola, unfazed, calmly sipped her tea and invited him in. He was her most formidable rival, and also a promising killer. Wei Jin, upon entering, showed his impatience. "Someone like you should never dream of becoming my sister." But Viola understood. His contempt wasn't genuine. In truth, he longed for a sister. When Viola was adopted, the boy had been overjoyed. However, his mother had told him, "A lowly person without belated blood isn't qualified to be your sister. She's just a sacrifice. You need to make her understand that she's not worthy of being your sister." Hearing this, he was filled with a zealous determination to show Viola just how terrifying he could be. The two had fought, and their relationship had soured ever since. Unwilling to follow the original plot, Viola teased, "If I'm not your sister, then what am I?" Remembering his mother's words, he declared confidently, "You're a sacrifice." Viola's calm demeanor made him question everything. She was supposed to get angry and attack. After he won, he would be acknowledged as her older brother. Frustrated, he complained, "I insulted you, so you're supposed to get angry." Hearing this, Viola considerately set down her teacup. Wait a moment. Weijin was filled with anticipation for what would happen next. A cool pin grazed his cheek, and then pierced straight through the wall behind him. A battle was about to erupt. Yet, he touched the wound and exclaimed in admiration, "Oh, you threw that really well." Viola maintained her wicked smile, but her hand trembled. She had only meant to scare him, but she had missed and hurt him. After his compliment, he asked dangerously, "Was that a warning to me?" His expression shifted once again. "Ha ha ha, what an interesting sacrifice. You're quite the lunatic. So, can I have a hug?" Your adorable act almost had me fooled. But a belated hug isn't just a show of affection. It's also to analyze body type and grasp weaknesses. Can I just act cute and ask for a hug? Viola stirred. Weijin decided to act like a true Beledu. Hugging Viola tightly, he laughed heartily. "I like you a lot. I wonder which of us will kill the other first. I'm curious." He recalled the relentless pursuit of the boy he'd aided, the one who vowed to drag him into their faction. As the two embraced, a man suddenly interrupted. Smiling, Jinnan introduced himself as Viola's personal attendant. The Duke had given Weijin 10 days. For 10 days, please refrain from provoking Lady Viola. He clearly saw through Weijin's intentions with the hug. Otherwise, I will report it to the Duke faithfully. But as the two conversed, "Could you please let go of her first?" Weijin, still clinging to Viola, pouted. Weijin reluctantly released his hold. "If you have to go, then I'll see you next time, little sis. No sacrifice." As soon as he finished speaking, he collapsed. The world spun as if he'd ascended to heaven. Viola calmly instructed Jinnan to escort him back. Though he's been poisoned with Honghadu, he should regain consciousness soon. Still, I must admit, it was a magnificent greeting. Lady Viola has clearly won this round. "So that's why you had me find the feather pen and Honghadu poison?" Jinnan, outwardly calm, was asked. His heart pounded in his chest. "Please don't ask why. Just say it's because I've transmigrated into this book and have the script." But Jinnan was relentless. "Can I ask you a question?" Viola's heart leaped to the words. Has he seen through me? Fighting for survival within the villainous Beleda family, she'd used a facade of madness to win over her innocent, yet demonic older brother. Jinnan stared intently, but couldn't understand why she'd hugged Weijin. Viola breathed a sigh of relief. "I thought he was going to ask why I prepared in advance." She decided to be honest. Hugging allows one to grasp the opponent's physical weaknesses, but Weijin could also learn her flaws. Jinnan smiled and countered, "Do you think that will be a problem?" He was utterly shocked. A 7-year-old child from the slums. If you haven't learned these things, then it must be an innate killer instinct. Jinnan was completely convinced. "Your confidence is truly captivating." He then pulled out a handkerchief, startling Viola. But instead of offering it to her, he gently dabbed at her dress. "Be careful of the loose thread on your sleeve." Such attentive service wasn't in the original story. But that wasn't all. "I'm going to report to the Duke now. However, I intend to show you the report first." He was clearly signaling his allegiance. Again, this wasn't in the original story. When Viola saw the report, which described her as possessing the instincts of a successor, paired with ambition, she was bewildered. "I didn't even know I had these qualities." He further described her as the necessary madness the Beleda family needed. Viola was once again dumbfounded. And the reason for all this? He saw Viola's aptitude and talent. "Therefore, I will do everything in my power to make you the next Duke." But Viola didn't want to be some murderous Duke. She pleaded with him, her eyes full of sincerity. But Jinnan misinterpreted her look. He was moved to tears by what he perceived as familial acceptance. "I will certainly strive to fulfill your wish." The diverging plot gave Viola a headache. But what needs to be done must be done. Orders were given, instructions issued, all while juggling the complexities of family relationships. Mother held a lengthy document, inquiring about the boy's appearance. It was intriguing to watch her son's gentle assessment. He harbored a deep dissatisfaction with how enemies were treated. Weijin obediently replied, ready to admit his wrongdoing. If I made a mistake, then I must be punished, he answered mechanically. It seems you understand that well. Then are you prepared to be whipped? She watched as her mother's palms bled from gripping the whip. He obediently turned and knelt. His small frame didn't soften her heart. The whip was raised high. Again and again it fell. Her hands, too, became bloodied and raw. Weijin, usually so proud and unrestrained, didn't utter a sound. He trembled, silently weeping. And little Viola was exhausted, having finally dealt with two dangerous individuals. But she still had to continue proving her worth as a Beledu. Failure meant death, she recalled with a heavy heart. At this point in the story, the dutiful Weijin was worried. He was concerned the specially made whip would injure his mother's hands. He quickly called for Jinan. Take me to Weijin's room. The plan to get him on her side was wrong. She needed everyone on her side. Under the moonlit night, the boy's clothes were soaked in blood. He repeated helpless whispers. Because my mother's hands are hurt. It's my fault. I'm a bad child. Her rival for the throne, a murderous brother, was actually a pitiful child abused by their mother. Ignoring the closed door, she had the scheming Jinnan open it directly. The scent of blood wafting from the crack made her heart clench. The words of the novel seemed so pale now. Only now did she understand Weijin's exhaustion and bitterness. A man suddenly appeared. Young Master Weijin doesn't want to see anyone. Seeing this, she knew it was the boy's attendant, Jinnan. But this lady must see the young master today. This puffed the man up like a blowfish. Jinnan, I'm warning you, shut your mouth. So the scheming Jinnan ran to little Viola to complain. He told me to shut up. What should I do? Can you suppress him? With that, he pulled out a dagger. Though difficult, it wasn't impossible. Do you intend to violate the East City law? This made him abruptly recall the regulations. Within East City, violence and murder were forbidden. He realized that without the law, the lunatic really would stab him. The other man wore a gentle smile that radiated a chilling aura. Terrified, he gulped. How frightening. I'd better leave quickly. Taking advantage of his short stature, he slipped between the two of them. Seeing their master depart, Jinnan sheathed his dagger. The atmosphere between the two abruptly shifted. They began praising each other's quick thinking. The man congratulated Jinnan on serving a remarkable master. This made Jinnan quite proud. His master didn't need to exert any effort. She ruled as if by nature's decree, coupled with her appropriate reprimands and guidance. It's as if she was raised in the Beledu family. He also praised her exceptional insight. When he suggested harming the unconscious Weijin, the girl countered, seeing blood now, killing him? Wouldn't Jinnan, for failing to properly assist him, be sentenced to death? If Jinnan died, I would be quite troubled. After all, you are indispensable to Viola Beledu. He had completely immersed himself in the Beledu family. She assumed he only used her full name because of the reader's habit. He had unconsciously spoken her full name. Entering the room, she finally found the battered boy. Approaching cautiously, she didn't forget to maintain her cruel facade. You're completely beaten up, she remarked, casually sinking into a chair. You've lost so much blood. Weijin retorted flatly. It was only a little blood today. Akila's whip stings, doesn't it? The boy candidly admitted. It does, but mother must be hurting too. Viola replied. Wasn't that your mother's own choice? Hearing this, he clutched his sleeves, deceiving himself. It's because I made a mistake. He smiled through his tears. I'm a bad person. His vulnerability tugged at Viola's heart. Are these words that should come from child's mouth? This isn't the kind of family I want. Everyone was vying for power. He, however, clung to his facade of childish innocence. Weijin, feigning weakness, asked his sister to expose his back. The boy reminded her, stabbing me within East City is a serious crime, you know. She scoffed at the idea of taking advantage of him. One day, I will make you kneel at my feet like a dog. Her words sparked an unexpected thrill in him. But there's no fun in trampling on a fallen brother. Hearing this, the boy readily agreed. He turned obediently, revealing the crisscrossing welts on his back. Viola's heart ached. He was still just an 8-year-old child. Taking out what she had prepared, she faced the boy's innocent, fearless question. What's that? Poison, she said. But the next second, Weijin cried out in pain, unable to speak. He instinctively tried to flinch away. But Viola stopped him. It's not poison. It's healing ointment. Is that some kind of special poison? Hearing this, he resumed his tough persona. Hurry up and heal. That way, I can have the pleasure of killing you. In truth, she only wanted him to stop hurting. She was taken aback when he said, "That's strange." Thinking her acting was poor, she was surprised when the boy poked his chest and said, "My heart feels strange." A sharp pain stabbed at Viola. As he finished speaking, tears streamed down his face. He caught a falling tear. "Why am I crying when I'm smiling? Did you poison me? What did you do it? You're really good." He suddenly noticed Viola's expression. "Why are your eyes red too? Are you poisoned as well?" She quickly regained her composure and teased. "The young master of ballet too is actually crying? Shouldn't I cry if I'm sad?" he retorted. But if his mother didn't hit him, he wouldn't be sad. Hearing this, he lied to himself. "But it's my fault, brother. Shall I tell you the real reason I'm sad? It's because you were unjustly treated in East City. The laws of East City state that all children under 10 are protected. Anyone who violates this rule must die." This meant he would later be forced to prosecute those who broke the law. Their mother, however, seemed pleased. "Wee Jean, only by killing your mother with your own hands can you become the true ruler. You've grown up, my darling." Mother is so proud. She was using her own life to force her son to abandon his kindness and become a monster. After this, he completely transformed into a murderous demon. Wee Jean knew his mother was wrong. But that's my mother. To prevent him from becoming a murderer, Viola offered a grim reminder. If left unchecked, he will eventually eliminate his deranged mother, because that is the law of East City. He didn't answer, but brought up something else. "Mother gave me a task." He turned abruptly, his smile innocent and bright. "Do you want to play with me? I heard it's very fun." His adorable appearance made her want to hug him. Suppressing the urge, she accepted his invitation. It was his first practical training session. She had thoughtfully prepared a poison dagger. But be careful not to get cut yourself when you use it. Even palace maids go to heaven. The girl shuddered at the words. Viola feigned indifference, treating it all as a game. "I don't want to use poison." Wee Jean obediently polished a mirror and exercised. She smiled, wishing the palace made success in her mission. He would accompany her, but he couldn't directly help. And their game was to suppress a small band of mountain bandits. He knew the novel's protagonist would appear during this mission. Finally, I'm going to kidnap. No, I mean meet the protagonist, accidentally becoming the pampered darling of a crazy family, seducing the cunning ML only to turn him into a loyal dog servant. The demonic older brother is obsessed with monopolizing him. The captured protagonist had murderous intentions. On the road to the bandit suppression, Wee Jean complained, "A carriage? Why not ride a horse? Then ride a horse yourself." Hearing this, he instantly jumped up. "Why are you using informal language with me? I'm almost 7. I'm already 8. You should call me older brother." His childish behavior made Wee Jean sigh inwardly. He really is a child. The next second, he was taken aback. "And I've killed 10 more people than you. I'll show you how cool I am later." A thought suddenly struck Wee Jean. This kind of training was too dangerous for someone who had transmigrated into a book. Since older brother suggested the game, then older brother should go first. If it's too tiring, I'll help you later. He was actually tricking his older brother into doing the work. His lazy, self-preservation instincts successfully provoked Wee Jean's fighting spirit. "Just you wait. I'll take care of everything." Arriving in front of the mountain stronghold, the group ascended on foot. Strangely, the perimeter was unusually quiet. Wee Jean was bored. After all that killing, there's not even a single lookout. The smell of blood instantly excited him. He discovered the exhumed body of a child. Seeing this, he knew the protagonist had arrived. In the book, the protagonist lived with his father and sister. They survived on his exceptional hunting skills. His dream was to become an excellent hunter and take his sister to the temple for treatment. But that dream was shattered that day. Returning home from hunting, he found his father lying in a pool of blood. His sister was gone. Holding back his grief, he first went to search for his possibly still living sister. Following the trail left behind, he arrived at the bandit stronghold, but he was accidentally discovered by the bandits. Witnessing the bandits' atrocities firsthand, he bypassed his older brother and began to work diligently. He noticed signs of forced entry. Coupled with a previously unearthed body, he guessed that someone had already broken in. He knew inwardly that this person was looking for his sister. The protagonist had already killed several bandits. As they advanced towards the stronghold, the smell of blood Wee Jean had noticed confirmed it. The battle had already begun, so he acted immediately. He couldn't lose the initiative. Meanwhile, Jinan was marveling at Viola's wisdom. After the man went after Wee Jean, Jinnan wondered, isn't the lady going as well? Viola had noticed the child's footprints. He barged in without a second thought, definitely seeking revenge. What's more interesting is that he's still alive. Judging by the commotion inside, he hasn't succeeded in his revenge. Jinnan greatly admired Viola's sharp perception. He swore once again to make her his successor. Viola, however, felt a chill down her spine. Following the tracks, she opened the door. She found him. The protagonist was indeed here. But the moment she saw him clearly, she was stunned. Why was this person here? Reincarnated as the cruel adopted daughter of my favorite character. The protagonist's face was unexpectedly identical to her past life's first love. Ignoring the boy's threats, she abruptly drew closer, pulling back his trouser leg. The triangular birthmark was exactly the same as her first love's. They had grown up together in the orphanage. Gentle and handsome, he had been like a light in her life. But just as she was about to confess her feelings, she received news of his death. But how could he be here? Their eyes met. A wave of dizziness washed over her. Those eyes seemed to be drawing her in. The boy, mistaking her for a bandit, took advantage of her daze. He pressed a knife against her throat. "Take me to your leader, or I'll kill her." Her expression was grave. How could the palace maid make such a mistake? "Are you pointing a knife at me?" The surge of killing intent startled the boy. He instantly understood. Now, she's going to show me what she can do. As expected, with a single strike, Viola knocked him to the ground. Stepping hard on his back, she brought her hand to the boy's cheek. Her eyes were wild. What do you think would happen if I moved it just a little to the side? The loss of control over her body made her suspect it was Viola's spirit. He regained consciousness. Hoping the protagonist could suppress Viola, he resigned himself to his fate, just like he had back then. But he didn't want her to harbor such thoughts with his first love's face. "Just like my brother supported me, let me be by your side this time." Regaining control of his body, he saw a group of people approaching. He admired the flawless plan, intentionally showing weakness to subdue the opponent. But he knew it wasn't him. It was the real Viola. Could this be a side effect of the possession? Fortunately, he regained control before she could hurt Jenin. "I like this guy a lot. I'm going to make him my toy." She thoughtfully fastened a collar around his neck. "First, show me what you can do." Hearing this, his magic surged. A faint blue light emanated from him. In the next moment, the boy was lifted up as if by chains, hanging in midair. He was intensely curious to see what the palace maid would do. "Since he's a dog that bites, shouldn't we discipline him first?" Jinnan instantly understood and withdrew. Once the man was gone, Viola felt a pang of guilt. "What should I do? I brought him back to save him." And by discipline, Berthold meant that. But with a face like Jenin's, she couldn't bring herself to do it. Just then, the boy slowly woke up, finding his hands and feet bound, his mouth gagged. He radiated killing intent, demanding to be released. This made it clear to her that this person wasn't her first love. She ruthlessly pointed out his failures. "You seemingly stormed the bandit stronghold, but only killed 2 people. Injured, you wanted to give up entirely. How can a noble understand the suffering of commoners?" Unexpectedly, Viola replied, "I've thought that too. I was an orphan, though adopted. But for you, who lost your family in an instant, I can empathize more than anyone. That's why I'll be by your side. And I'm the one who avenged your family and saved your life. You know how to repay me, don't you?" Seeing the boy nod, she was satisfied. "Good. This way, he'll obediently listen to me." Berthold decided to keep Wee Jean as a pet. Achilla, furious, wanted nothing more than to kill him. Unforeseen, she extended a hand to the boy. "Stay by my side. I hope you'll grow into an exceptional person, as someone who belongs to me." Amidst the cruel competition for the throne, he must cultivate his own power base. The boy, though he couldn't fully grasp the concept, understood this was his last chance for revenge. Calmly, he asked, "So, to the outside world, I'm your dog?" His quick understanding pleased Viola. After all, only toys and dogs could remain in Berthold's presence without raising suspicion or being monitored. And his previous attack on Berthold was a formal act of defiance. A dog that bites its master cannot be forgiven. Discipline was necessary, though Viola's words were harsh. Her gaze held a strange warmth that the boy could sense. He knew her cruelty wasn't genuine. Remembering how the protagonist in the original story hadn't been able to properly bury his father, a regret that haunted him later, Viola offered to help him bury his father afterward. The boy was instantly moved. Tears welling, he rose willingly. "I'm ready. Do your worst." Whip in hand, Viola said, "I intend to, so you better scream nicely." The whip rose and fell. Watching the boy tremble in pain, Viola felt a pang of guilt. But Jinnan was likely observing everything. To avoid suspicion, she had to commit to the role. Suddenly, Achilla, the devilish older brother, appeared, smiling innocently. "Are you playing with your toy?" He expressed curiosity about the toy, but seemed more interested in Viola. "Will you apply ointment to him, too?" The question startled Viola. "You better not apply any ointment to him. Otherwise, I'll kill him." Wee Jean, even more confused, could only assert his authority as the older brother. "Because I said so, I'll definitely kill him." Unaware of his brother's jealousy, Wee Jean reasoned, "Big brother wants to kill my toy. That means he's infringing on my property." Wee Jean puffed out his cheeks in anger. When Viola demanded a proper explanation, Achilla blushed crimson and shouted, "Because I was the first. So, besides me, no one is allowed to apply ointment to him." Viola, utterly unmoved by the childish display of affection, stated flatly, "If you continue to be unreasonable, I won't apply any ointment to you." Completely outmaneuvered, Wee Jean relented. Fine, apply it. I'll let you. But when I turn 10, you better beg for mercy. I really will kill you." Yet, after leaving, he wavered. "Do I really have to kill him?" As Berthold, he was expected to. His mother had told him as much. "But I don't want to kill Viola." Berthold, seemingly gentle and charming, a top-tier strategist, was in truth a whirlwind of obsessive and twisted thoughts. Seeing the boy beaten to a pulp, he merely smirked. "Not enough," he declared, then turned his blade on the palace maid who had intervened. "If it weren't for her generosity, I would have slit your throat." The palpable killing intent startled Viola. The word generosity in a sentence, in Berthold's view, was a quality only absolute rulers like Heron possessed. The implication was that her mercy was foolish, a weakness. Viola instantly understood she was being tested. Her eyes sharpened. "Jinnan, come with me." They went to a deserted corridor, where she promptly slapped him hard. "You can test my qualifications as Berthold, but don't be so obvious. Because it irritates me." Inwardly, she winced. She'd hit him too hard. Jinnan simply apologized, offering his arm as recompense. When Viola didn't accept, he said, "Then take my life." His gaze was earnest, bordering on frantic. Viola could only sigh inwardly. "Then you wouldn't be able to serve me. Think before you speak next time." His restraint and rationality at the age of 7 impressed her even more. If he hadn't used magic to protect himself in that instant, the bones in his face would have shattered. Last time, it tore right through his scarf. The protective magic on a young master's face, she left a wound. It's truly astonishing, the innate talent she possesses for wielding magic. But why did the palace maid bring me here? Is it to protect my reputation in front of this plaything? Precisely. After all, you're my only confidant. Hearing this behavior, so unlike Berthold, was strangely heartwarming. Jinnan began to genuinely hope that the palace maid, Viola, would rule Berthold. She completely stunned him in an instant. A single slap, can it really have that kind of effect? Truly, no one here is quite normal. A few days later, fulfilling his promise, the boy buried his father with her. She provided him with a room and necessities, treating him as a master, successfully turning him into her loyal dog. But she also discovered that with prolonged eye contact and physical touch, the real Viola would emerge. She planned to experiment later on how to avoid this. For now, she would simply follow instructions and report. Wee Jean had just been disciplined again. But when Wee Jean arrived at his brother, Achilla's room, he was startled. His brother lay at his mother's feet, breathing weakly. "Huh, so you really did come here. Wee Jean was waiting for you." And the person there was Achilla's mother, Isabella, second only to Duke Heron in power and prestige. A political marriage to his father. He bowed politely. "Greetings, Duchess Isabella." The fact that she recognized him instantly meant she'd been studying diligently. Indeed, after all, this is a fiercely competitive battlefield. The struggle between the two was about to ignite. After transmigrating, she hid her true nature, pretending to be meek. But unexpectedly, she tamed the untamed young noble. Faced with the venomous mother's taunts about his origins, the girl didn't flinch, responding directly with steel in her voice. "Poverty can be noble, wealth can be shallow. But even in poverty, at least one wouldn't turn their own son into this." Hearing this, the woman's expression remained calm, but her tone was laced with danger. A mother's way of loving her son is not for outsiders to judge. The barb only made the girl bolder. She walked toward Achilla. "How could I be an outsider? We're practically siblings now, mother." Looking at the welts and bruises on Wee Jean, Viola suspected the Duchess had used poison this time. She heard the woman warn her not to overstep. The girl abruptly stood. All children under 10 in the East Wing are under my protection. As the mistress of this wing, you have violated the rules. The Duchess remained unrepentant. The name of Berthold carries such weight. This was merely a stern lesson for my son, to teach him not to be careless. Seeing that reasoning was futile, Viola instructed Jinan to use magic to record the scene. In the next second, the Duchess had her by the throat, her speed startling. She threatened Jinan, her assistant. But Viola smiled. It seems you also know this is wrong, judging by how desperately you're trying to stop it. The implication hung heavy in the air. The venomous mother's objective had been achieved. She abandoned the recording. The Duchess released her grip. Viola's performance had been impressive. It seems this welcoming banquet will be quite the spectacle. Her gaze remained sharp, unwavering. Thank you for your premature welcome. But what shall we do about the fact that Wei Jin now knows of your transgression? Seeing her son stir, the Duchess turned and left. Wei Jin carefully applied medicine to his wounds. He understood. What his mother gave him wasn't love. It was obsession. It was abuse. Hearing his brother cry out in pain, he scoffed. Aren't you supposed to be able to withstand a whipping? Big brother isn't angry, but amused. As expected, I'm the one who should defeat you. You can't be killed by anyone else. I'm the only one who can kill Viola. Achilla clearly felt protective of him. Unexpectedly, Viola suddenly lay down, coaxing him to sleep. Because of his weaving, he suffered from insomnia. The boy was incredibly curious how he would manage. Sleeping pills? Nerve anesthetic? It prompted him to cautiously investigate. He lay down expectantly, staring at Viola, only to discover how small her hands were. So small and thin. Could she be easily bullied? Unaware of his thoughts, Viola recalled the soothing methods from a book. Leaning closer, her eyes held a dangerous glint. Don't relax, because then I want to get rid of you. As expected, the boy with the scarf immediately started to feel drowsy. She mimicked her mother, pinching his throat. If you fall asleep, you'll die. The familiar method from his mother made it impossible for him to resist the encroaching sleep. He slowly drifted off. He had been trained this way by his mother since childhood. He had to endure until he couldn't hold on any longer before falling asleep. When she didn't come looking for him in the night, he was so afraid he couldn't sleep, developing severe insomnia. Seeing him asleep, she was about to leave, but he grabbed her small hand. Don't go. Please stay with me. I don't want to be alone anymore, not even in my dreams. He ached for her, tears welling up. Don't cry. Under the night sky, the two nestled together and slept, only to be awakened by repeated calls. It turned out Jinan had to report to Duke Aranth the next day and had no choice but to wake him. I saw the maid's true face. The boy was instantly startled awake. She clearly craves blood, yet puts on a gentle facade. She also cleverly feigns fear. But can you tell me why she does this? Seeing that the boy was still drowsy, he suddenly slumped back asleep. Jinan looked at him with a mixture of exasperation and fondness, gently brushing the hair from his face. He had to admit, the boy looked adorable asleep, but someone skilled in magic, how could they not control their drowsiness? This must be a test for me. I have to say, you're overthinking things. The next day, Duke Heron emerged from his bath. His steward immediately dressed him, grumbling. Lady Lyle would be unhappy if she were here. The lady had often warned him that the Duke would emerge from his bath like this. She worried you would get a stomach ache. Lyle was the only person he had ever loved. Even with magical protection, she still worried he would get sick. He would always tease her. Taking care of my health is your duty. But in the end, she had mercilessly passed away. Hearing from the steward that Jinan was waiting at the door to report, he put aside his thoughts and had him enter. From the report, he learned that Duchess Isabella was wary of Viola. He was instantly intrigued by the girl. Ever since Lady Lyle's death, the Duke had suppressed his emotions and focused on work. Seeing his long-lost smile, the steward was also relieved. He took the opportunity to promote Viola. If you were to meet her yourself, you definitely wouldn't regret it. Hearing this, Heron was swayed and agreed, delighting Jinan. Doing this should earn me some points within the palace, right? As he was leaving, he boldly added, as myself, not as Jinan, the steward, there's something I really want to say. Actually, the May Viola is very cute. Both Heron and the steward wore the same speechless expression. The Duke's praise felt like unnecessary admiration. The butler's silent enjoyment, an unnecessary virtue. Cuteness meant nothing to Berthold. He'd go back and face 10 lashes for it. He'd look adorable in the popular formal wear. But Berthold mistook it for another test. After all, this wasn't a family where one could get by on cuteness alone. So he chose a practical dress for ease of movement. Now that he was out, he couldn't fathom what Heron wanted, but the destination was a dessert shop. Such an invitation was impossible to refuse. He savored his beloved sweets, merely performing the motions of pouring tea. Life was good, but why was the shop so eerily quiet? The next moment, he froze. Duke Heron? Here? He feigned nonchalance for dear life. The lethal combination of spicy food and Bertholdt's inherent cuteness unexpectedly ignited the cold Duke's paternal instincts. Seeing the Duke, he meant to rise and bow. But desire conquered reason. He left Heron hanging and went back to his tart. He snapped back to reality to find everyone staring. Embarrassed, he clutched his disobedient hand. He glared at the culprit beside him. "You said it was a date. I've been tricked." With a single gesture from the popular Duke, silence fell. Greeting him now would be even more awkward. He could only feign composure, taking in the Duke's divine features. He suddenly understood why there was a book titled 101 Ways to Make Heron Fall in Love. He lost. Through the paternity registration, they were officially father and son. But Heron didn't like docile children, so he haughtily closed the file. "Should I thank you? Shouldn't you?" Amidst their childish bickering, he was once again drawn in by the aroma. Unconsciously, he picked up a tart and opened his mouth wide. The adorable sight made the Duke stare. After finishing one, he abruptly came to his senses. He could only reluctantly offer one to ease the awkwardness. The man looked at him, a mixture of confusion and reluctance. "Why are you giving this to me? Aren't you my son?" An unfamiliar warmth spread through him. He reached out and wiped the cream from the boy's lips. He masked his affection with sarcasm. "It's the first time I've seen Bertholdt with food on his face." Everyone in the East Wing placed their right hand over their heart and bowed their heads as a sign of respect. He wondered why the boy didn't do the same. Emboldened by the tart, Bertholdt asked, "Is that what father wants? If father wishes it, I will do it. If you dislike it, I won't." The words echoed Lady Lyle's sentiments, but the Duke mistook it for a carefully crafted facade. He scolded Bertholdt mercilessly. "You must have the bearing of a Bertholdt." This made the boy slam his teacup down. "I asked you to be my real father. I wasn't joking, so please cherish me." Bertholdt's fearless sincerity stunned him. He stopped the butler's reprimand. "See you at the evening banquet," he said, leaving Bertholdt with those cryptic words. The moment the Duke left, Bertholdt's tears welled up. Surely, this one-sided emotional outpouring would have some effect. He knew the Duke had a weakness for cute things, but he himself wasn't exactly cute. He could only compensate with emotional vulnerability. On the ride back to the estate, he thought of the boy's soft face. Do all children get food on their faces? He wondered. So even Jinan finds her cute? Despite the sarcastic tone, his voice held a hint of fondness. "A child who defies me and plays games." "Interesting," he spoke, leaving his butler to only exclaim, "How strange, your grace." Exhausted from his journey, Duke Heron returned home only to find Bertholdt hovering nearby. The thought of the still unidentified matter gnawed at him. He ordered Jinan to summon him. Heron observed the boy's physique, his mind working. He sought an opportunity to test the boundaries of physical contact, wondering when the real Viola would emerge. The innocent boy flushed crimson as Heron, describing Viola's physical attributes, ran his hands over Bertholdt, discovering that as long as he refrained from embracing him, there was no adverse reaction. Bertholdt, meanwhile, was struck by a strange sense of familiarity. He felt as though he had seen Heron somewhere before, but dismissed the thought as impossible. Heron recalled his mentor's words. "That boy's body is naturally attuned to swordsmanship. Therefore, you should train him with the blade. Release the magic that binds him." Heron scoffed internally. "A watchdog who doesn't even know his own strength. For my sake, learn the sword. I'll introduce you to an excellent swordsman." After 5 seconds of intense eye contact, Bertholdt, predictably, began to feel dizzy. But then he noticed the heat radiating from Heron's face. Just as confusion set in, the loyal Bertholdt spoke. "My lord, forgive my impertinence, but do all noble women handle a man's body with such familiarity?" Viola, within, burst out laughing. Mentally, she was 21 years old. How could she possibly mistake a child for a man? She masked her amusement by patting Bertholdt's head. "Are you a dog?" Upon returning to his room, Jinan brought dinner, quipping, "Chow time, little toy dog." Bertholdt, however, was preoccupied with a question for Heron. "Do you know what noble families call their dogs these days?" Upon learning the term pet dog, Berthold immediately latched onto the idea as his new aspiration. He would diligently study swordsmanship. Wouldn't it be wonderful to become my benefactor's pet dog? Then I'd get head pats again. Both of them perfectly self-deluded. Heron, however, felt a sudden chill. The next day, he visited the barracks to find a swordsmanship instructor for Berthold. This place was teeming with individuals possessing extraordinary abilities. Heron's former comrade, Hickson, was once a celebrated hero. Now, however, he was a mere drunkard. A dog learning swordsmanship from the disgraced Hickson wouldn't attract any unwanted attention. This arrangement would allow Berthold to progress rapidly and give Heron the opportunity to mold him into his own pawn. Upon arrival, he found the self-destructive drunkard. Viola, without hesitation, confronted him. "Old man, do you think drinking like this will bring your daughter back?" Hickson, suppressing his anger, tried to dismiss her. "Isn't your daughter already dead?" Viola successfully ignited his fury, then softened her approach. "Shall I tell you who killed your daughter? I saw it all." At this, Hickson instantly dispelled his drunken stupor with magic. In the filthy sewers, a red-haired, freckled girl, wearing cross earrings, clinging to the belief that her father would save her. Viola recounted with chilling clarity. She had witnessed it all in the novel. She boasted that her father was Hickson. "There were at least 2 people involved in the kidnapping of your family. While you were searching for your daughter, your wife was also murdered, as if it were all planned. Was it truly a coincidence? Think about it." Overwhelmed by grief at the time, Hickson hadn't considered the possibility. Viola's words brought the chilling realization. Hickson also recognized her as Heron's newly adopted daughter. He mistook her sincerity, assuming she had an ulterior motive. "What do you want?" Viola smiled slyly. "Actually, I'm keeping a dog. A rather large and rather bitey old man. Help me tame him," she pleaded. "Duke Heron has awakened into some doting father figure. It's driving me mad. And his adopted daughter is sulking. He's summoned him for dinner again. But what does it mean when he says nothing and does nothing? In principle, the Duke shouldn't be meeting privately with a successor candidate. Otherwise, it looks like favoritism. I bet his first words will be, 'You're actually letting Hickson stay by your side? Did he tell you to hold my hand?' His words are more sour than lemons. Just because his friend finished meeting with his adopted daughter, he comes running to steal her away. Anyway, you're not interested in being a father, but I want to accept him with sincerity." Hearing this, he stubbornly says, "Suit yourself." But after she leaves, he snaps countless calligraphy brushes in frustration. Jenan, the butler, is bewildered yet again. Viola, thinking it's a test, responds with her characteristic Berthold-esque flair. An idealistic dreamer, lost in their fantasies. "Aren't they easy to manipulate? I can easily turn him into one of my pawns." But the Duke isn't satisfied. He's more concerned that they held hands at the end. With a cold expression, he threatens, "Don't offer your hand so readily, because it might just disappear." After his threat, he's ready for dinner. He specifically has dessert brought for her. Seeing his daughter's adorable gasp of delight, the Duke stares transfixed. It makes the girl incredibly self-conscious. "Father, can you please not stare at me while I'm eating? Is it customary to stare while eating in Berthold?" Her words mirror her mother's once again. He can't resist a venomous remark. "Everything you say originates from me. You should be able to handle this level of influence, right?" The girl doesn't indulge him. "I wasn't brought back here willingly. Father insisted on bringing me back. How can you brag about that?" Her words overlap with her mother's once more. He apologizes with immense tolerance, only to find that she's staring intently at him as well. The girl doesn't flinch. Father was the one who was rude first. Tit for tat, that's the Berthold way. And she gets to admire Heron's stern expression as a bonus. "Are you claiming self-defense?" "Yes, it's self-quarantine." Her mispronunciation makes him correct her. Self-defense or self-quarantine? Their childish bickering ignites the girl's fury. She's 20 years old and being mocked for her pronunciation. She yells, "Self-quarantine." Unintentionally, her killing intent leaks out, making the Duke chuckle. "You're not only impolite and pronounce words poorly, but you even radiate killing intent." Startled, the girl instantly retracts her killing intent. Seeing her control and her ability to switch between different masks so easily, the Duke is quite pleased. If only she'd lose the cuteness, she'd be perfect. Then he notices food on her lip again. He tells Jenan to teach her proper etiquette. But later, her adorable image lingers in his mind. The next day, he takes Berthold to Hickson for swordsmanship training. Berthold's cold eyes during his focus moments remind the Duke of Heron. He leaves them to train. Upon returning to the estate, he has an unexpected encounter with a peculiar woman. "Are you the new maid?" The pink-haired woman in a red suit declares, "I can tell at a glance that you're one of Heron's gullible pawns." Seven is skilled at crafting masks and manipulating puppets. Hearing the girl correctly pronounce his name, the woman is surprised. "Did the Duke introduce me?" He's not usually that thoughtful. The girl replies directly, "In that case, why do you still like him?" After a brief hunger pang, he calmed down. "Isn't it because he's handsome? Right?" The book said she was infatuated with Heron. Warned not to cross the line, the woman was practically swooning with happiness. "Isn't it fascinating to be killed by the Duke?" Though frivolous, she was quite capable. Seeing that the girl seemed to have some training, he suddenly became curious. "What do the 6 maids think of me? Do they all find me disgusting?" "Oh, truly disgusting. Because you're a pervert, messed up in certain ways. After all, isn't it disgusting to seduce a married man? Even if it's a political marriage, your interference is abnormal. But he is truly someone who constantly strives to be useful to the Duke. If he were truly useless, father wouldn't have kept his name. Overall, I think you're a useful person, and I hope you could be useful to me too." Thinking of the unanimous condemnation, the girl's honest words revived him. "Someone actually acknowledges me in this way." He hurriedly got up and requested, "For tomorrow's welcome banquet, can I do the maid's makeup? I'll make the maids the most dazzling presents." Arrogant nobility combined with the ferocity of an Isthmian beast, like a deadly lily with a poisonous sting. A ruler's image, more captivating than any person. The girl stared dumbfounded. Is this the inspiration of a mad artist? But one thing was clear, refusing would be disastrous. She could only force a smile. "I'm really looking forward to it, my innocent, murderous brother." But Heron's adopted daughter, Viola, told him she didn't have time. While distressed about the banquet, where everyone was seemingly losing their minds, a hand clapped him on the shoulder. Instinct faster than thought, he drew his knife and attacked the newcomer. The dangerous thrill excited him. A knife! I thought the scarf would retaliate. Instead, he lifted his pant leg. "It's hurt here. It hurts. Apply ointment." He'd claimed a knife wouldn't hurt him. Why come to him for such a small wound? "Let Viola apply it for you." Unexpectedly, he simply handed him the ointment. Clearly, he had spoiled his brother. So, he made a proposition. "You must accept one condition of mine." Hearing this, the scarf wearer balked. 2 seconds later, he quietly conceded, "What do I have to do?" "Grant me a wish in the future." The boy, though surprised, agreed under the temptation of the ointment. "Right? No, I'm already envious enough of you. I've never even had a welcome banquet." Hearing this, the girl fell silent. The welcome banquet wasn't truly a welcome, but an occasion to evaluate and test him. A murderous experiment disguised as celebration. Seeing her brother's dejection, she comforted him. "Let's play together next time." He instantly revived. "Then see you tomorrow." He, too, began to feel nervous about tomorrow's arrival. The next day, at 4 a.m., Viola woke him up, much to his annoyance. He lashed out towards the sound of the stove. The magic on his hand made Viola think. Next time, shift 3 degrees to the left. The kill success rate will increase by 10%. He thoughtfully helped the dazed girl up. When she woke up again, she saw that the maid still held sharp scissors in her hand. "My lady, I almost died 3 times." Hearing this, she knew her body had moved involuntarily again. She suddenly caught sight of her dressed-up self, delicate, charming, sharp, and a touch clever. Her large eyes were as cute as grapes. "Is it really that beautiful? I'll escort the Lady Viola. Allow me to guide you to your place of honor. You will undoubtedly outshine everyone today. Please, let your brilliance radiate." As he entered the hall, all eyes were drawn to Lady Viola, the Duke's adopted daughter, as she made her entrance. He approached the scene in measured steps, the silence broken only by the sound of his own footfalls. With a sudden, swift motion, he severed a nearly invisible thread. He met the gaze of the knife-wielding Deng, a deliberate act of defiance. This was the first test. In the original story, Viola mercilessly killed him. But, knowing the source material, he targeted the one manipulating Deng. He placed his foot on the manipulator's head, his killing intent palpable. "This kind of joke is really tiresome," he seethed. 7 Max, seeing the woman apologize profusely, sneered, "If you're so sorry, why don't you just die?" He touched the near-fatal wound on his arm. How about using him as a substitute? A voice interrupted his thoughts. Bring Viola over here. Have her sit beside me. His face remained impassive. Inwardly, however, he praised her appearance. As handsome as ever, he mused. The moment she sat, all eyes were on them. The weight of their gazes made him tremble inwardly. He forced himself to appear oblivious. He needed only to focus on Heron and Isabella. He was daring to act preemptively before his mother's test. Since father has unilaterally brought me back, it's the Duchess who will test me. What will you test me on? He had only 2 questions. First, why didn't you pierce his heart? He responded nonchalantly. Is that even a question? His bold reply stunned the other contenders. It also irritated the Duchess. Are you interviewing me? Your question is so self-evident that I wondered if it was even a question. While I had no intention of interviewing you, I apologize for the misunderstanding. Arrogant as ever. An eerie silence fell over the room. He was secretly pleased, unafraid of the Duchess, completely indifferent to his siblings. That effortless composure, truly worthy of Lady Viola. Viola, however, was terrified that she had ruined everything. After all, the real test had only just begun. The others conspired to test her. She had no choice but to feign madness to survive. Seeing his mother fixate on the fact he hadn't killed, he didn't panic. Instead, he smiled. The welcoming banquet is only for relatives and those who directly serve the family. 7 and the guards are neither, meaning they are expendable puppets. But how could he act on his own accord? He was merely following his parents' orders. That's why I didn't kill him. Are you satisfied with my explanation, Mother? She was startled by how quickly he had grasped the situation. It left her speechless. Then, Heron unexpectedly praised him, calling him clever. The other heirs were incredulous. He had only ever praised Viola before. Seeing the Duke's approval, the others gave up on trying to curry favor. They tested Viola relentlessly. The second question was obvious. Why did you dare brandish a weapon before me and the Duke? Anticipating the question, a wave of panic washed over her. They realized she was dangerous. The Duke called a halt to the proceedings, his gaze fixed on her, his expression complex. She had actually gained the upper hand. Isabella is a remarkable Berthold, he conceded, thinking of Viola's charming demeanor and her inexplicable fondness for him. A flicker of warmth touched his heart. He found himself developing a protective affection for her. He readily agreed to the Duke's newest whim, a demand for the welcome gifts to be brought forth. When the steward presented a tray laden with colorful vials, a chilling realization struck him. He remembered the Duke's final test. Each vial contained a deadly poison. His mother's gleeful anticipation flashed in his mind. A special gift, prepared specifically for her youngest daughter. The thought of its potent effects on the body was almost appealing. In the book, he had deliberately knocked the vial over, wanting only to prove himself superior to his father. He had vowed to break his father's neck, but now he would give them an even greater spectacle. He casually selected a vial, his eyes cold and alight with a manic energy. From the moment he entered, he had sensed their expectations. With a flourish, he hurled the vial to the ground. The carpet hissed and smoked as the liquid ate through it, a few droplets splashing and burning his leg. You want me dead? Then what about this? He challenged. He had declared that only he was worthy of Bella II. Unfazed by the women's gasps, he met their stares with an unflinching gaze. You have good eyes, he acknowledged. With meticulous care, he opened a small container of salve and applied it to the burn on his leg. His madness returned in a flash. He snatched up another vial. How about this one? He taunted. I smell something I miss, he murmured, a strange wistfulness in his voice, hinting at a hidden story. At this, the Duke straightened. This potion, he explained, was crafted by Heron's beloved. She wished to join him in eternity. The Duke continued, offering him the vial labeled Viola. Come with me to a warmer place. Heron had pleaded, genuinely yearning for death alongside his love. The steward intervened, stopping him. Not a single sane person in this book, he muttered under his breath. He had even named his adopted daughter after the poison. But no one knew of his unique constitution. Seeing Viola open the vial, the steward panicked. What are you doing? This is just a reminder, the Duke said, his voice low. It's the deadliest of the 5. I know, Viola replied calmly, but a woman is calling me. Heron, unable to contain himself any longer, demanded, what did you hear? I didn't hear, Viola corrected. I saw her longing for someone, a love stronger than death. This was his empathy, his resonance with the character's tragic plight. With an air of nonchalance, he he declared, "Then I'll drink it." Under the weight of everyone's gaze, he drained the vial. His heart hammered against his ribs, but he maintained his composure. "I trust you," he thought, recalling the family trial detailed in the plot. His reckless act stunned the room. He had just consumed poison right in front of them. He felt a sudden rush of heat, his blood boiling. His pupils dilated, a predatory hunger rising within him. The instinctive urge to kill startled him, but he fought it down with sheer willpower. His keen perception, remarkable self-control, and unconcealed ambition for power were on full display. The woman, intrigued by such a formidable opponent, felt a thrill. Even the Duke acknowledged him as the perfect Belatu. But the girl's reckless act, why did it displease him? He held up the empty vial, a smirk playing on his lips. "I finished it," he announced. Inwardly, he offered a silent prayer of thanks to the plot's author. The poison named after him had no effect on him. He had managed to drink it only by imagining it was juice. If the woman knew the truth, she would be mortified. "Now, can we eat?" he asked. The Duke, his face still grim, acquiesced. Despite the stifling silence that hung over the meal, he couldn't help but feel a surge of triumph. His father seemed pleased. After all, he never spared a glance for things he deemed unimportant. The surreptitious glances from his brothers further confirmed their acceptance of him as Belatu. But one gaze lingered on him, unwavering. He turned, his senses honed in on the silver-haired, silver-eyed girl. It was Hera, one of the four maids, whose physical limitations were offset by her sharp intellect. In the original story, they were mortal enemies. But towards this resourceful girl, he felt a stronger desire to have her on his side. And Hera would become a wealthy older sister figure. He also wanted to experience the joy of being taken care of by a rich older sister. He looked at the girl with anticipation in his eyes. Utterly exhausted from the banquet, all she wanted was to wake up and have some strawberry cheesecake ice cream to soothe her startled spirit. Just the thought of it allowed her to drift off to sleep, satisfied. But the man remained by her side until, for hours later, she drowsily awoke. Confused, she wondered why he was still there. It turned out she had been kicking off her blankets. He was also worried she might get a stomach ache during the night. After all, she had drunk poison earlier that day. But it was impossible for the man to be purely concerned for her. Was he perhaps afraid she would reveal a moment of weakness and have her identity as Viola questioned? The man said, "I'm glad you're not sick." Then he asked if he could apply ointment to her injury. After receiving permission, he removed his gloves for the first time. He was about to gently apply it to the leg she had injured during the day. "But, my lady," he began, "can I be honest with you? I'm a little sad, because your leg is hurt." Am I strange? Hearing this, the girl was taken aback. Wasn't he supposed to be an emotionless character? Someone who didn't sympathize with the pain of others? Someone who didn't even understand his own feelings? But the man continued, "I've never had this strange feeling before. It's troublesome. I don't like it. But one thing I'm certain of, if you were hurt, I would be very sad. So please, remember not to get hurt." After hearing him, she suddenly realized the dynamic had shifted. Was it because Viola, the character, had changed? Transmigrating into a villainous family and feigning madness had unexpectedly changed the cold-blooded knight into a loyal dog. Hearing the man say he didn't want her to get hurt, she wondered if it was another test. How could Belatu not get injured? "To you, who am I?" And he was Belatu, the maid he served. So stop saying such foolish things. But he only wanted him to say, "All right, I won't get hurt. Don't be sad." This was his selfish desire. He didn't know where these desires came from. So he asked, "Could you give me a direct order?" This piqued the girl's curiosity. "What kind of order?" "An order to protect my lady. I wish you would never be hurt. So I want to protect you." His earnest expression almost fooled her. She clarified that his role was as a steward, not a knight protector. Just like his duty as Belatu was to be a shield protecting the people of the North. The man understood, but he was unwilling to accept it. "If I were an outsider like Hickson, would you reach out and ask for my help?" At this point, he didn't understand the intent behind her question. So he replied, "Perhaps." Unexpectedly, the next day, Seven submitted his resignation. He didn't intend to be a knight anymore. Viola was startled. "I will become someone who can protect you even better than Hickson." However, ideals were beautiful, but reality was cruel. His 7-year contract wasn't up yet. Resigning at this point would incur a penalty of $10 billion in compensation. He hadn't considered resigning before, so he hadn't read the termination clause of his contract. This allowed Viola to breathe a sigh of relief. Too many variables were undesirable. The book also mentioned there was no knight more skilled than Seven. Seeing that the man didn't have the money to pay the penalty, she offered a consolation. Then be a capable knight by my side. Her words made the man's icy heart bloom. A captivating smile bloomed on his face. He readily agreed. But I have something to report. Your dog is being beaten every day. There are rumors he will die like this. Recalling the protagonist's formidable strength in the book, Viola guessed this must be high-intensity training. I believe Hickson wouldn't kill my dog, Viola declared, a surge of emotion welling up within her after hearing Hera finish. The protagonist, though once a hero, had been an invalid for 3 years. Why did Hera trust Hickson more blindly than she trusted him? This sudden comparison made him aware of the feeling. Is this the protectiveness I've heard of? Viola mused, but the girl wanted practical instructions. Then my protectiveness isn't necessary, he retorted. But if I compromised, I wouldn't be Bella too. Let's go to the training grounds and see how Hickson treats your property. Though presented as a genuine suggestion, Viola felt he was tattling on Hickson. He, in turn, was curious about the protagonist's training. So they went to the training grounds together and saw her dog fighting with someone. But the moment he saw clearly, he was stunned. Why is Scar here? Diligently playing the role of the Duke's adopted daughter, Viola found herself the object of a possessive rivalry between the two men. Seeing the two of them looking so murderous, are you still shocked? What's going on? Learning it was sparring, Viola was speechless. They called that tangible killing intent sparring. Hickson, however, was full of excitement. Have I lost weight? Do I look more handsome? He had just dined with his devastatingly handsome father yesterday. Comparing his father to this uncle was like comparing thunder to a drizzle. The protagonist was speechless, but he was more jealous of how close they seemed to have become. Although he called Heron father, what else could he call him? Hearing this, he realized they weren't close. Instantly, he felt happy enough to hum a tune. Meanwhile, the two were fighting fiercely. Seeing this, Hickson asked, "Who do you think will win?" Viola keenly caught the ambiguity in his words. Are you asking about usually or right now? After receiving confirmation that the sparring match was the current context, she unhesitatingly bet on Heron. After all, the boy had been training since childhood, but the protagonist was curious. Then why did you ask in which situation? It was because Scar's swordsmanship differed from the Tuan's style. Scar had been trained as a secret assassin, unsuited for combat in such an open area. Conversely, Heron, trained by the protagonist, had an advantage in open combat. But his technique isn't as refined as Scar's. So, as long as Heron doesn't make any major mistakes, he will win. Hearing this, Hickson was both proud and relieved. He was only 7 years old, yet he considered position and weaponry all the conditions. He couldn't believe such thinking belonged to someone so young. But if Heron becomes arrogant and reveals an opening, he will certainly be attacked and defeated. After all, Scar is still young and only sees this as a game. Unexpectedly, they noticed Viola's arrival. Heron immediately became serious. He didn't want to disappoint his master. Heron also became instantly excited. He wanted Viola to see how strong he was. With their respective goals in mind, the two prepared to fight with reckless abandon. The moment their weapons clashed, the protagonist interrupted. "Stop, it's a draw." Heron was annoyed and dissatisfied. "I almost stabbed him in the heart. Then your neck would have been hit too. Did you forget he has a long sword?" Heron argued. "I was about to dodge." This earned him a flick on the forehead from the protagonist, who remarked, "You're a terrible, sore loser." Scar, filled with rage, hissed, "I'll kill you." The protagonist, unfazed, replied, "If you're capable, feel free to try." Seeing Scar call him, Heron panicked and explained that he hadn't lost. Viola, however, pulled out the contract she had written earlier. He made a deal with his older brother, securing a promise for one wish. His wish? That no matter how strong his brother became, he would never kill Hickson. Heron worried. If Hickson died, who would train him? Seeing his brother's distress, Bellatu reluctantly agreed. Overwhelmed with guilt for not winning and shaming Viola, Heron was then praised for fighting well and avoiding injury. Viola's praise and concern warmed his heart. He vowed to be a good pet dog for her. Viola had said she wanted him by her side, and a dog that stays by someone's side is a pet dog. Though unsure where he'd picked up such skewed logic, Viola wondered what Heron meant by tilting his head. Tentatively, she reached out and stroked his head. Heron, blushing with satisfaction, declared, "I'm so glad you praised me, mistress." This sparked Bellata's jealousy. Why wasn't he being praised? Both brothers were consumed by the same thought. "I'll kill you one day. The adopted daughter, doted upon by all, had tamed countless madmen. She cleverly managed the cunning and manipulative, even making them call her sister. Watching Viola expertly handle her apprentice, Hickson suddenly realized her secret. Viola, assuming he'd discovered her possession, braced herself. Instead, Hickson simply remarked, "You're useful." Viola, using her youthful appearance as a mask, feigned helplessness. Yet, she was the same iron-willed maid from the welcoming banquet. But Hickson didn't find this bothersome. He found a contrast rather endearing. Hearing this, Viola felt a sense of camaraderie. She, too, had noticed the maid's charm. As their training session ended, Viola immediately requested a private conversation with Belatu. The prospect of alone time with Viola made Belatu ecstatic, his eyes brimming with anticipation. This left Heron looking like a forlorn puppy. Belatu, with a few encouraging words, turned away, his heart pounding with a lingering fear. He'd nearly made eye contact for more than 5 seconds, risking to reel Viola's emergence. Back in her room, Viola warned Belatu against directing his murderous aura at Heron. After all, if Heron died, things would be disastrous. "You need to have the demeanor of a strong person," she instructed. Belatu, however, interpreted this as Viola wanting him to be more handsome. Upon receiving confirmation, he immediately obeyed, leaving him puzzled. The original Viola hadn't been obsessed with handsomeness. Could it be that he was truly doing a good job? The prolonged eye contact incident also bothered him, as did Heron's insistence on being her pet dog. But most importantly, Hera hadn't arrived yet. The novel stated Hera would return to her a few days after the banquet. Yet, 2 weeks had passed with no sign of him. It seemed she needed to set a trap. She instructed Scar to deliver a note to Hera. Intrigued, Scar inquired about the note's contents. Viola, with a cryptic smile, simply replied, "I just want to get along." A day later, the long-awaited Hera finally arrived, escorted by Scar, appearing as a frail young woman. Immediately dismissing her attendants, Viola also sent Scar away. Viola casually asked if Hera needed anything, mentioning her own craving for a strawberry iced drink. Rejected, Viola let it go, remembering the novel's depiction of the wealthy heiress's unyielding personality. However, as Hera departed, a palpable killing intent emanated from her. "Why did you insult me?" Hera demanded. Viola was taken aback. She hadn't meant to insult Hera at all. The note, suggesting they get along well in Belatu, could easily be interpreted as a condescending challenge. For Hera, who had relinquished her claim to the family headship due to physical limitations, it was particularly stinging. "I apologize for the misunderstanding," Viola explained. "I haven't quite mastered the art of being Belatu yet. But why did you come here, ill as you are?" she continued. "Is it your sisterly duty to check on your little sister's face? Then feel free to examine it thoroughly," Viola offered. In a novel, this was the point where Hera abandoned the competition. He's helping the future head of the family. He's concealing his claws and making contact with his brothers. He's even decided on a successor and allies on his own. And he's earned the Duke's approval. So, Hera, who's here to confirm whether I'm the successor, absolutely must be brought to my side. And Hera has sensed it since the banquet. His confidence and effortless grace, as if it were a natural talent. Viola then added, "I don't know Belatu very well yet, but I do know it's a dog-eat-dog world. Those who can prove their worth won't be eliminated. How can a mere scholar and palace maid survive here? There's no record of her officially carrying out any missions. If you don't mind, will you listen to me?" "Sister," he wants to first act like the clever person Hera likes. He intended to win over the cunning and frail-looking sister with his intelligence. But she's captivated by his arrogant audacity. And he's someone even the Duchess wouldn't dare provoke. He can even walk in and out of Father's office as he pleases. "Never provoke sister" is a direct order from Father. But someone who receives direct protection from Father can never become the head of the family. But that's exactly what Sister wants. After all, what you've always wanted is to be the kingmaker. He, convinced that he'd never revealed his intentions anywhere, wondered how a child who just entered the family could know. "It seems I have to seriously test him. Are you sure?" And he was absolutely certain Sister and Father had made a deal to gain protection in exchange for giving up the position of family head. It's the future head of the family who brings prosperity to the family. And the person who carries out this task is called White Belatu. In the Belatu family, there are two kinds of strength. Black Belatu, responsible for martial power, and White Belatu, responsible for strategy. But everyone thinks that White Belatu is just a good-for-nothing who hides away and uses his brain. That's also Hera's opinion. But he thinks Sister is amazing. For a disabled person like Sister, this is the most sensible and rational choice. I respect that. I truly believe you are the real Belatu. This unprecedented kindness and understanding stirred something within Hera. But is it comfortable acting with a mask that doesn't fit? Viola startled. He saw through it. Trying to hide your madness must be driving you crazy. Do you actually want to wield the sword in your hand? Hearing this, he couldn't believe it was referring to him. Of course, excessive bloodlust isn't Belatu. That's a murderer. But you possess the rationality to control your rage. That's what Heron reported. And the reason Heron knew was simply because they shared information. Actually, I was curious if Heron's assessment was too high. Now it seems completely accurate. He suddenly reached out and said frankly, I like you too. Viola is also my type. The girl was stunned into silence. You fell so fast. But he instantly understood this was Hera's test. Now, all he had to do was display the image of the absolute ruler she desired. So he ruthlessly pushed Hera's hand away, gripping hers forcefully, his eyes blazing with a manic intensity. My beautiful sister, don't overstep. He chose you. You didn't choose me. Understand. The immense killing intent startled the girl. Viola is far inferior to older sister and older brother. She has no foundation and no external help. But she's only 7. If I can help her grow, how powerful will she become? But he abruptly heard Viola say, I hope we can become a good family to each other. But for Belatu, a good family meant mutual exploitation, leveraging each other's strengths and maximizing benefits. But the girl had no such intention. She simply wanted to gain favor. Heron clearly misunderstood, thinking she wanted to use him. But he was drawn to her intelligence and wit. He offered to take her somewhere she wanted to go. This will be our secret, he said. He intended to show her his secret forces, a place unknown even to his father and Zishur. After all, an unseen blade is far more terrifying than a visible one. The next day, he found himself in a predicament. The address Hera had given him was nowhere to be found in the novel. The two weren't close to begin with. He had to rely on himself to find it. His father and Zishur couldn't possibly be unaware of the East City's affairs. He was clearly being tested. So, before leaving, he needed to arrange everything. And if his sister was involved in the trial, despite feigning madness and raising an adopted daughter, she was captivated by his ruthlessness and charm. He went alone to the appointed place, as his sister had requested, only to find it deserted. Confused, he heard a voice from a prestigious school nearby. It was a lost, noble young lady. We need to get rid of her before the patrol finds her. Hearing this, he knew they were traffickers who kidnapped children to sell as slaves. He didn't panic. Instead, he politely greeted them. My name is Viola Belatu. I'm 7 years old. Hearing the name Belatu, the men panicked. Seeing this, he realized Hera had concealed his identity. How foolish of her. Accepting a job without knowing who the client is. Your misfortune is number 1. Let me clarify. I am a Belatu. Secondly, I'm 7. I've also revealed that I'm in East City. Children under 10 are protected here, yet you still threaten me with weapons. Killing intent surfaced. He sneered trash. The powerful aura startled the men. Try to maintain composure. One of them blustered. Once we're out of East City, no one will know. The girl suddenly reached out and snapped her fingers. Clean water, she demanded. My ears are dirty from what I've heard. I need to wash them. A sudden gust of wind, seemingly out of nowhere, terrified the men. After the wind died down, the leader collapsed. The unconscious man was poisoned. The rest were paralyzed. I'll give you a choice. He'll die in an hour anyway. Get him out of East City within that time. Otherwise, you all stay. I'll count to 3, 2. Before he finished, the men were carrying their fallen leader and running. Killing was terrifying, but these men were better off gone. He hardened his heart, forcing himself to adapt to this world. Zenon, dispose of them once they leave East City. And if my sister doesn't show up soon, I'll kill everyone in the Tyra Merchant Group. The rumble of wheelchair wheels interrupted him. We agreed you wouldn't bring Zishur. You should be grateful I did. Otherwise, I would have killed them all. Considering my age, it would be self-defense. But the investigation team from Duke City, will they side with my sister, who didn't act childishly like Bellatu? Or will they side with me, who did what Bellatu should have done? He had leaked the information about the declining noble's arrival. I tormented Zishur. Let's call it even. The girl didn't argue further. Then let's go where we need to be. I'll push you. Before he could refuse, she added, I'm your sister, after all. A sudden, unfamiliar warmth bloomed in his chest. They chatted animatedly as they went. Hearing Viola declare that money was the best, he chuckled. How can you say such a vulgar thing? The girl was unfazed. Don't you like money too? Do you know why nobles don't say they like money? Because they're all well-fed pigs, never hungry, so they put on airs of nobility. Hera couldn't help but burst into a fit of giggles. This startled Viola. The book says that when Hera talks to someone she truly likes, she giggles. It seems my sister will be on my side. The two walked and talked, soon arriving at one of Hera's secret viewpoints. The Terra Trading Company wanted to seize the sealed approval and contract, but my sister unexpectedly dazzled everyone with a move orchestrated by the Duke's favorite. Initially, looking at the groundbreaking 10-story building before him, he was utterly awestruck by his sister. After all, this world's architectural technology lags far behind the modern era. To achieve this at 12 years old, I truly adore my sister. Hearing this, the young woman's eyes curved into crescents, clearly pleased. Although she owned the entire trading company, publicly, she was known as a reputable merchant. A chill ran down the protagonist's spine. Did you kill him? Hearing his sister say it was a natural death, he was relieved. But a sudden flash of inspiration struck him. Savon is skilled in disguise. Could he have put on a mask and impersonated the deceased merchant? Thinking this, he voiced the question. Hera hesitated, then laughed. You've investigated thoroughly, haven't you? Having a worthy opponent made Hera exceedingly happy. Can you feel it? My heart is beating much faster than usual. I'm glad I met you. He couldn't help but be affected by her sincere smile. It made him feel a pang of guilt for wanting to use and manipulate Hera. Then let's truly get along. I'll use everything I know to help you, sister. It will bring us closer and ensure you're on my side. I want to invest in your business. His grand statement startled Hera. Hadn't he come from his slums? Curious, she asked how much money he had. I don't have any, but however much you need, sister, I'll find it for you. Hearing this, Hera, not wanting to put him in a difficult position, carefully named a figure. Is one a lot? Viola wasn't fazed. Instead, she smiled confidently, far less than I imagined. A few days later, he was summoned by the Duke. The reason being that Zishur had reported to the Duke that the young lady wanted some pocket money. Even in the Duke's presence, Viola was forthright about not wanting the money. The butler nearly fainted. Speaking like that could get one's neck wrong. Unexpectedly, the Duke wasn't angry at all. He had assumed he would have to teach the girl a harsh lesson. This also shifted Viola's perspective. The Duke, surprisingly, liked boldness. So, she amplified this trait. Besides asking for pocket money, she also used it as an excuse to see her father succeeding in charming the usually indifferent Duke. How much do you need? I need 100 million. This was the sum a family head candidate could receive at the age of 12. I'm just taking an advance. I intend to support Hera's business. Hearing this, the Duke was puzzled. Why? Building a trading company is also a Bellatu endeavor. Since my sister can't become the successor, I think it's better for her to be on my side. But I'm not doing this for free. The wild boar hunting season is approaching. I'll handle it. If I fail, you can kill me. A game with life on the line is much more interesting, isn't it? Seeing his father amused, he held out his small hand. Reciprocity is good, right? Then give me the money first. The small, plump boy's audacity made the Duke's heart tremble. 100 million enough? I'll give you 2 billion. He was adopted by the Duke solely for his innate killer instinct, intended as a stimulant to hone his heir, yet looking at the girl's sweet face, he repeatedly faltered. He could only force himself to remain resolute. He instructed the steward that if Viola hadn't achieved remarkable results by the age of 10, her qualification as heir would be revoked. Staring at her cheerful, retreating figure, delighted with her newly acquired allowance, he silently prayed, "You must perform well. Otherwise," he thought, "your neck wouldn't be so safe." 3 years passed in a flash. Viola, now 10, was no longer protected by East City's laws. Her brother, Xenon, having just returned from a mission, immediately ran to see her. He asked if she had reported to their father. This startled Zenon. His sister was paramount in his heart. He feigned innocence, saying he was just about to go. Having grown up together, Viola knew perfectly well that Zenon would undoubtedly delegate the task to Zishur. She sternly warned him, "I can now legally compete with you for the heirship. If you can't fulfill your duties as a belladonna, I won't acknowledge you as a rival." Being questioned and challenged by someone he cared for was unbearable. He immediately obeyed and went to report to their father. Zishur, standing nearby, also understood. The young master in the scarf clearly wanted to be the first to see Viola. The killing intent in his eyes had also dissipated considerably. His curiosity about Viola remained, but his emotions and reasoning had shifted. But this was Viola's deliberate intention, to ensure her brother firmly stood by her side. She first needed him to grow strong. She was now 10. Her other siblings wouldn't spare her. More importantly, according to the original story, she was about to formally declare her intention to compete for the heirship to Heron in the spring courtyard. But she intended to replace that little episode with something else. A few days later, she successfully secured a meeting with the Duke. Looking at the garden filled with flowering crabapple trees, Heron's lifelong love, who adored crabapple blossoms, was startled by the word father. Viola strolled over, getting straight to the point. "Do you remember this day 3 years ago? That day, you instructed the steward that if I hadn't achieved good results by the age of 10, I would either be stripped of my qualification as heir or banished. But I kept my promise and protected the village ravaged by wild boars, and without any bloodshed. Previously, Heron had to resort to force to deal with the boars, but I used earthworms to aerate the wild boars' foraging grounds, making the barren land more fertile. The abundance of food fully satisfied the boars' needs, so they no longer raided the villagers' homes. I solved a recurring annual problem in one fell swoop. But even though I made a contribution to the history of biosynthetic engineering, father, you didn't inquire further, nor did you make the method public. Is it because, father, you want me to become a black belladonna?" The Duke didn't hide it. Instead, he revealed the cruel truth. "I brought you here, hoping you would become nourishment for my biological children, using your exceptional killer abilities to stimulate their talents. I want you to become a black belladonna, yet remain completely unscathed. Do I intend to defy your wishes, father, and proceed as a white belladonna, as the mastermind intended?" And her reason for wanting to become a white belladonna was singular: to avoid the deadly competition with her siblings. "I believe I have sufficiently demonstrated the talent and aptitude of a white belladonna. If my hands and feet can kill 100 people, then my mind and words can kill 10,000. My father is the 1,000 kills Duke. Then I shall become the 10,000 kills Duchess." She had feigned madness for survival, but her performance was more convincing than reality. At the tender age of 7, she borrowed 20 billion from her father, using her own life as collateral. In just 3 years, she multiplied that fortune 100-fold. Zishur, the butler, reported this to the Duke, his face carefully neutral. The attending maidservants, impressed, watched as the Duke, looking over the records of his daughter's exploits, remained silent for a moment. He then instructed Zishur to summon the girl. "Father, you called for me?" Without even lifting his head, the Duke sensed what she held behind her back. Hearing this, Viola, without hesitation, brought it forward. "Father seems to like these flowers," she said, "so I made this." The familiar blossoms stirred something within the Duke, yet he gruffly said, "I don't want it." Viola ignored him completely and walked straight towards the Duke, thinking of how she had diligently crafted it for him. She gently placed the flower crown upon his head, beaming, "It suits you perfectly." The Duke, still playing the part of the gruff father, grumbled, "I wouldn't do something so frivolous." "Then why didn't you take it off?" she asked. His awkwardness only amused her further. "It's beautiful. It really suits you." Hearing her say it so casually, he gave a small, almost reluctant smile. His expression instantly caused Viola's playful demeanor to shift. "You know how I usually am," she said, her voice suddenly serious. "I only act like this in front of you, father. In the next moment, both of them turned toward the doorway. Zishur, the butler, had arrived breathless. But seeing the Duke wearing the flower crown, Zishur was utterly bewildered. Noticing the butler's curious gaze, the Duke smoothly removed the crown and changed the subject. "Is there some urgent report?" Zishur, flustered, finally stammered. It concerns Lady Viola." Before the butler could continue, the Duke turned to Viola. "Since you wish to become a white belladonna," he asked, "tell me, what urgent matter do you think Zishur has come to report?" Viola guessed correctly in an instant. It concerned the whereabouts of the 20 billion. 3 years ago, using the 20 billion her father had given her as collateral, she had borrowed an additional 10 billion from the bank. After giving Hera the 1 billion she had requested, Viola had used the remaining funds to purchase 10 hectares of wasteland. Although it was situated in the barren territory between East City and the Great Southern City, the empire at the center of the continent had announced the construction of a massive trade route connecting the cities, causing the price of nearby land to increase tenfold. And the person who held the deeds to most of that land. Previously, East City had been isolated due to the campaign against monsters. But now the empire's situation had changed. Currently, its growth rate was negative. The only way to develop was to connect the cities and promote trade. But that wasn't the only reason. More importantly, an economic crisis was looming. The currency was steadily depreciating. The empire would undoubtedly resort to large-scale civil engineering projects to bolster the economy. 3 years ago, the imperial ministers had begun planning. I guessed that, for the sake of the people, he would implement such a policy. That's why, 3 years ago, I said that I would become a white belladonna at this juncture. Her foresight and strategic thinking left both the Duke and Zishur speechless. But I knew that someone without power possessing that land could be targeted or eliminated by a powerful faction. However, my father is Heron Belladonna, a man even the emperor wouldn't dare offend lightly. Displaying her strength while simultaneously showing deference and affection, she added, "It's a good thing I'm your daughter, father." Her words caused a tremor to run through the Duke. Later that night, looking at his late wife's portrait, he remembered her saying something similar. "It's a good thing I'm your wife. Only I can have you." Viola was so much like his wife. Could it be that she was a gift sent by his wife, so he wouldn't be alone anymore? He dismissed the thought as absurd. He went to the city to look upon the preserved flowers she had cherished. They were specially made for him by his wife. He could almost hear her voice echoing in his ears, the same words they both uttered. "They're beautiful. They suit you so well." He placed the garland beside the true love flower ring. Just like Viola, she was precious to him, as his wife had been. "He doesn't have feelings for me. We've been married for 7 years. The day after our wedding, he applied to go to the battlefield to another planet. 7 years. The number of days he's actually been on this planet is only 5 months and 3 days. Even though my application to accompany him was specially approved by the government, I only spent a day and a half by his side before being sent back. But you seem to have deep feelings for the Admiral. Haven't you tried to improve your relationship?" "I have, but he hates me." "Oh no, he's disgusted by me. No matter what I try, he ignores me. Maybe there's still a chance. Look, the Admiral hasn't come here." "No, he'll be here tomorrow. A month ago, he informed me he'd be back tomorrow and would take me somewhere. He never takes me to any social events. He doesn't take me to visit his only relative. No one, aside from my family, even knows I'm his wife. Since you don't have a joint account with the Admiral, you can't share his assets. Your father is bankrupt. After the divorce, your account balance will fall below the minimum. And without the title of Admiral's wife, you'll be exiled to a lower-class planet. Are you really not reconsidering? Maybe there's still a chance." "There's no chance. He didn't marry me willingly in the first place. Rather than wait for him to bring it up, it's better for me to initiate the divorce. Maybe, in the end, I can leave a slightly better impression on him. Even just a little bit." In the midst of her sadness, a message from Fairy popped up on her smart wristband. Admiral's wife. The Admiral encountered a recombinant organism attack on his way back. He's currently undergoing emergency treatment at the military hospital. Emotional neglect in a marriage is also a form of domestic abuse, and Chung Jin had endured this for 7 years. That day, Chung Jin's husband, Admiral Liu Tao, sent a video call request. As always, he didn't waste any words. Or rather, he didn't offer a single word of warmth or concern. He issued his command and then cut the connection. "I'll be back on the 23rd of next month. Get ready to go somewhere with me." Upon receiving Lu Tao's command, the only place Cheng Jin could think of that the admiral would take him was the divorce registration office. At 25, Cheng Jin had been married for 7 years. At this moment, his eyes held only vulnerability and disappointment. He couldn't believe how wretched his life had become. 7 years ago, he was the son of the richest man on planet Hera. If only he hadn't fallen for him at first sight in that crowd, then everything would have been different. He was Lu Tao. Back then, he hadn't yet become an admiral, just a native with permanent residency, serving in the military. But his striking features and strong presence completely captivated the impulsive and naive Cheng Jin. Like every time he saw a toy he wanted, he simply pointed at Lu Tao and told his powerful father that he wanted him. And then they were married. 7 years later, he had to admit his failure. He hadn't managed to capture Lu Tao's heart, to win his love as he had initially hoped. Now, he wanted to preserve a little dignity for himself and leave a final, slightly positive impression on Lu Tao. But just as he was one step away from finalizing the divorce proceedings, he received a message from Lu Tao's secretary. Lu Tao was critically injured and fighting for his life. Regardless, this was the man he had loved for 7 years. The thought of Lu Tao's condition, the possibility of him dying, completely consumed Cheng Jin's mind. He had to get to his side immediately. Admiral Lu Tao's memory core has been damaged by the venom. He will temporarily lose all his memories. His personality may also change. The doctor's words shocked Cheng Jin, but also gave rise to a sliver of hope. Lose all his memories? Then he would also forget about the divorce, wouldn't he? Was this heaven seeing his genuine remorse, taking pity on him, and granting him another chance to be with Lu Tao? Lu Tao's bedside was crowded with his close relatives. But when he opened his eyes and saw the person closest to him, he instinctively pulled away from his grandmother's hand, as expected. Secretary Ferry stepped forward in time to support the admiral, easing the awkwardness for everyone. He briefly explained Lu Tao's situation and the identities of the people around him. But Lu Tao's attention was drawn to the person standing at the back, who hadn't been introduced. He felt a strong affinity for this person. Then, he offered a smile that shocked everyone. He spoke to the person. "Hello. Do we know each other?" Looking at the broad smile on the face that was usually cold and expressionless, Cheng Jin was momentarily stunned into silence. Seeing the frozen figure, Lu Tao continued to signal his interest. "You're very beautiful." The thoughtful fairy immediately introduced him. "This is your partner, Mr. Cheng Jin." "Partners? But why do they seem so stiff with each other?" Fairy observed her superior, Admiral Lu Tao, seemingly fixated on Cheng Jin. She quickly arranged for some privacy. "Admiral, since you're awake, I'll take the old madam back to rest. Mr. Cheng Jin will stay and look after you." The wheelchair rolled, and they left the ward. But as they reached the far end of the corridor, the old madam abruptly turned and issued a sharp warning to Cheng Jin. "I advise you to drop this charade. When his memory returns in 6 months, your pretense will be exposed. Don't think you'll get away with this." "I understand. Don't worry. We've been married for 7 years. Why don't we have children?" After years of technological advancement and expansion, humanity had colonized multiple planets across the star systems. Yet, the vast majority of wealth remained concentrated in the hands of a select few. Planet Hera was the haven of the elite. Its environment was pristine, its climate idyllic. Those who resided there, aside from the indigenous population, possessed either significant wealth, status, or distinguished titles. Anyone whose wealth fell below a certain threshold, lacking both title and indigenous status, was exiled to less desirable planets. Humanity, in its continuous evolution, had also undergone certain changes. A new breed of humans, capable of bearing children, had emerged. Cheng Jin was one such individual. After seeing the old madam off, he returned to the ward, trying to hide his despondency from Lu Tao. He had to cherish this time granted by fate, these last 6 months to be with Lu Tao. Lu Tao, though puzzled by his partner's apparent nervousness, seemed to treat him like hired help. Still, he extended what little warmth he could muster, accepting the water Cheng Jin offered with a polite apology. Whether intentional or not, Lu Tao's fingers brushed against Cheng Jin's hand as he took the glass, sending a shiver of fear through him. If everyone hadn't insisted that Chung Jin was his partner, he would have thought he was harassing the young man. Lu Tao's manner of drinking was as elegant as Chung Jin remembered. He watched, mesmerized, but didn't dare to act on the possessive urges he once felt. "Do you mind sitting on my lap?" Lu Tao's request stunned Chung Jin. He couldn't quite process it. In the past 7 years, Lu Tao had spent a total of 5 months on Hera, but the actual time spent at home was barely half that. Physical contact with his husband was even rarer. Being pulled onto Lu Tao's lap was a long-held desire, but now that it was happening, Chung Jin froze, passively complying. "We're married," Lu Tao stated. "Yes. When did we?" 7 years ago. Hearing that number, Lu Tao was shocked. He'd assumed they were newlyweds, hence the lack of children. After all, Fairy had just explained his situation. His only living relative was his grandmother. "Why haven't we had any children in 7 years?" Lu Tao couldn't help but wonder if he was the problem, but quickly dismissed the thought. "Because I didn't think we were ready yet." He was lying. Lu Tao knew it with absolute certainty. Why not? Lu Tao's question was reasonable, but it filled Chung Jin with terror. He couldn't bear to let Lu Tao know about the past, about those years spent chasing after him, like trying to hold on to shifting sands. The tighter he gripped, the more he lost. Chung Jin, pampered and spoiled his entire life, hadn't expected his first confession to be so brutally rejected. But he wasn't one to give up easily. If he could just eliminate the competition, surely Lu Tao would be his. Back then, in his naivete, he hadn't understood that true affection couldn't be bought, especially not from someone as proud as Lu Tao. Yet, he persisted, even dragging his family into the mess he'd created. His family loved him dearly and never disappointed him. So, in the end, he and Lu Tao were married. But it was a wedding for one, a marriage for one. These few months were a gift from the heavens, a precious reprieve Chung Jin couldn't risk jeopardizing. How could he reveal the truth, the reality of over 2,500 days and nights of distance, coldness, rejection, punctuated by only a handful of fleeting encounters? The necessary precautions they'd taken were the reason they had no children. He couldn't let Lu Tao know, not yet. When Lu Tao's memory returned, he would remember everything. Until then, Chung Jin's only duty was to care for him, to live without regrets, and to lessen the disgust Lu Tao felt for him. Anything more was too much to hope for. After paying for his father's medication, his remaining balance was only enough for these convenient, instant nutrient soups. But Lu Tao was probably used to them anyway. "Why are you up? Are you feeling all right?" Only 6 months. He couldn't exploit Lu Tao's current state to deceive him any longer. That look of disgust, he couldn't bear it again. Pushing open the door, Chung Jin saw Lu Tao struggling to stand. Weakened by the lingering toxins, he quickly sank back onto the bed. Then, with eyes soft as a summer pool, Lu Tao looked at Chung Jin. "I need to use the restroom," he said, a faint blush rising on his cheeks. "But I think I need some help." The thought of Lu Tao needing his help sent a thrill through Chung Jin. Lu Tao, perhaps sensing his hesitation, adopted a pathetic expression. If only he knew how much Chung Jin yearned for any closeness. Even the simple act of supporting him would be enough to brighten his entire day. In a daze, Chung Jin helped the tall man up. Through the thin fabric of Lu Tao's sleepwear, he felt the heat radiating from his powerful frame, the firm muscles a tantalizing pressure against his hand. Lu Tao, with a mischievous glint in his eyes, deliberately leaned his weight onto his smaller spouse, hoping to elicit a more flustered reaction. But after Chung Jin helped him into the bathroom, he pulled away. "Okay, you go ahead. I'll wait outside." Lu Tao, seeing him about to leave, protested. "That won't do. I was mostly pretending just now, hoping you'd stay close. I can't use my arm properly. I still need your help." "Really?" At his words, a visible blush deepened on Chung Jin's face. Looking at his lovely, desirable spouse, Lu Tao couldn't help but wonder if perhaps he was the reason they hadn't conceived a child in their 7 years of marriage. Chung Jin, for his part, felt a thrill at the reminder that they were legally bound. Lu Tao was injured. It was only right to help him. He certainly wasn't taking advantage of the situation. But it was Lu Tao. He averted his gaze, tried to maintain composure, but couldn't quite suppress a flutter of illicit thoughts. "All done." Chung Jin asked, then blurted, "Why wasn't I your emergency contact? You used to be so busy." Chung Jin turned away, flustered. "It's getting late. I'll miss the last shuttle," he mumbled, hurrying out of the room. It was laughable. He'd just been thinking about using this opportunity to mend their relationship. The amnesiac Lu Tao didn't reject him. He even seemed to want to be close. But every detail of their lives, everyone who knew them, understood the truth. Lu Tao hated him. His grandmother had warned him just before she passed away not to try anything. It was true. He only had 6 months, perhaps less. As soon as Lu Tao learned the truth from others, he would likely never see him again. Divorce was inevitable. Better to maintain some dignity. He no longer had the prestige of his family name. He'd exhausted himself trying to earn Lu Tao's love, but he couldn't lose himself completely. As he reached the door, Lu Tao caught his hand. The grip was firm, warm, and possessive. Turning back, Chung Jin saw the Admiral looking at him with a pathetic, almost puppy-like expression. "No will kiss?" Lu Tao asked. "I looked up how spouses interact. It says they always give each other a goodbye kiss." A pang of pain shot through Chung Jin. A goodbye kiss signified love, longing, the anticipation of reunion. Lu Tao had never felt any of those things for him. He'd always tried to initiate a goodbye kiss, but had always been rebuffed. The few kisses they had shared had been stolen by Chung Jin. He never imagined Lu Tao would ever ask for one, even if it wasn't his true self making the request. Still, he couldn't refuse. It was just a kiss, and Lu Tao had asked for it. He probably wouldn't be angry when his memory returned, would he? How could he not enjoy Lu Tao's kiss? He just wasn't used to it. Not used to this limited edition Lu Tao's Judong, his initiative. He wasn't used to his own heart still fluttering for him, knowing the truth. It made him greedy. He shouldn't push Lu Tao any further. "I don't want the nutrient supplement," Lu Tao said, watching Chung Jin flee after the kiss. "I want to eat your cooking. You must come see me early tomorrow." He frowned, pondering. How had they interacted before? Why was their dynamic so different from the spousal interactions he'd researched? And didn't the Admiral's spouse on Hera have a vehicle? Why did he need to catch the last shuttle? With his memory gone, Lu Tao didn't know that 2 years ago, his spouse had sold all his assets and resorted to working in sweatshops to survive. The pampered young master of years past was now destitute. He had sold his dowry to help his bankrupt family, using the money to cover their debts. Lu Tao hadn't shared his finances with him. The only provision he had made for their marriage was the government-issued house they lived in. 2 years ago, when disaster struck, Chung Jin hadn't asked Lu Tao for help. Lu Tao's consistent coldness had made it clear that any plea would be futile. Lu Tao resented his family for forcing him into the marriage. If he knew the truth, he might even divorce him. Chung Jin didn't want that. Not yet. So he chose to bear the burden alone. But even selling those things wasn't enough. His father, unable to withstand the blow, fell ill, requiring exorbitant medical expenses. He couldn't let his brother shoulder everything. He went to an underground workshop, a place secretly providing income to those in need on planet Hera. He pleaded with the supervisor, Andy, for work. Finally, Andy agreed to help. He gave him some knitting handiwork. In their highly advanced society, such tasks had long been replaced by machines. But the upper class, to distinguish themselves, now preferred handmade items. So, could the young master earn money here? We'll talk about that next time. 2 years is a short time, but it gave Chung Jin confidence and motivation. He still yearned for his partner to change their opinion of him. From then on, he silently prepared to leave. For the first 22 years of his life, his father and brother had pampered him, their carefree little prince. Now he had to strive to live for them. Earning money was truly difficult. When injured, no one cared about the pain. They only scolded him for messing up. He had to endure the pain and practice repeatedly, or his meager earnings wouldn't even cover the cost of nutrient supplements. His father was sick in the hospital. His brother toiled tirelessly in the factory. Unable to ask his husband for help, Chung Jin knew he had to learn to be independent, to not be a burden. Fortunately, life's journey never leaves one empty-handed. Chung Jin, with his excellent design and appraisal skills, secured some high-paying custom orders, allowing him to survive those 2 years. Amidst the constant labor, his husband became a distant, shining star. He still loved him, but without the extravagant hope of pulling him down to earth. So, when his husband informed him of a place he wanted to take him, 2 years of preparation had calmed him. All right, he thought, I'm letting you go, even though I still love you so much. But he never expected things to turn out this way. His husband, Lu Tao, had amnesia and was so gentle with him. The soup he brought today was made from high-quality sea fish he'd ordered. Would Lu Tao like it? Before, in his presence, he only consumed nutrient supplements. Opening the door, however, he was met with a beautiful man in uniform. For a moment, Cheng Jin was stunned by his striking appearance. This person was truly breathtaking. I'm Admiral Lu Tao's subordinate and his best partner. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for him saving me. Was he injured saving you? Yes, I was too careless. This refined, handsome, and seemingly ageless man was the legendary Vice Admiral Regal, who, along with Lu Tao, was known as one of the Black Gold Gods, an unstoppable and perfectly synchronized force on the battlefield. Though 90% certain of the man's identity, Cheng Jin still asked, "Your full name is Acer Regal?" "That's correct. And you are?" The Regal family, one of the prominent indigenous families of the imperial planet Hera, enjoyed privileges and high social welfare. But the Regals were almost all burly, robust men with thick beards. Even the women were imposing, like natural-born warriors. Therefore, he hadn't paid much attention to the relationship between Regal and Lu Tao. Now, it seemed he might have been mistaken. I'm Cheng Jin, Lu Tao's partner. Was someone this beautiful and capable the only one who deserved to stand by Lu Tao's side? Though he might not be his partner for much longer, he still was for now. Acer, noticing the impatient admiral behind him, teased Cheng Jin with a playful reminder. Hurrying to the bedside, Cheng Jin quickly apologized. Blushing, the admiral muttered, "Waiting for you." He trailed off, then reached out and tugged on the corner of Cheng Jin's clothes. "Didn't you say you'd come see me early this morning? But you weren't the first to arrive. And what about the soup you promised? Was this really the same cold, unyielding Lu Tao, devoid of any weakness?" Cheng Jin felt like he was facing a completely different person. Acer, observing everything, smiled knowingly. After a moment of shock, Cheng Jin quickly presented the insulated lunchbox to Lu Tao, showing him the soup he had prepared. Out of politeness, Cheng Jin turned to ask Acer if he wanted some. Acer, initially intending to refuse, changed his mind upon seeing Lu Tao's possessive look. Opportunities to see Lu Tao flustered were rare. "It would be my honor to taste the fish soup you made. Please give me a bowl." Why did you agree to visit his home? Are you trying to cheat on me? Watching his soup being handed to Acer, both of them smiling infuriatingly, Lu Tao wanted to charge over and throttle this Acer Regal who had appeared out of nowhere. But this man was supposedly his partner. Fortunately, he still had plenty of soup left, so he let him off the hook for now. One sip, and both men wore expressions of pure satisfaction. Seeing Lu Tao's reaction, Cheng Jin cautiously asked, "Is it good?" Receiving an affirmative nod, he felt unexpectedly close to tears. He'd worked so hard to learn to cook, hoping to see this exact expression on his husband's face. But culinary skills were truly difficult to master. After a few attempts at winning Lu Tao over with other people's cooking, which were inevitably discovered, Lu Tao refused to eat anything he made. Even after he corrected his ways, truly learning to cook delicious meals after countless failures, Lu Tao still didn't trust him. Now, finally seeing him happily drinking the soup he'd made, Cheng Jin felt a small piece of regret melt away. Wonderful. Acer, Cheng Jin thought, watching them. Pink bubbles practically floated between the two men. Acer tactfully excused himself. Although Admiral Lu doesn't remember me now, I think he's much more adorable like this. Hearing Acer use the word adorable to describe Lu Tao, Cheng Jin felt a sudden surge of alarm. Did Acer truly have feelings for Lu Tao? "Mr. Cheng," Acer began, "once the Admiral is discharged, may I visit him at home?" "Of course," Cheng Jin replied. Did he even have the right to refuse? With a graceful turn, Acer departed. As Lu Tao's spouse, Cheng Jin maintained a polite facade despite the wariness he felt towards Acer. Admiral Lu, however, was utterly unfazed by Acer's farewell, continuing to sip his soup as if nothing had happened. Once Lu Tao finished his soup, Cheng Jin quickly began clearing the dishes. Lu Tao watched him intently, then suddenly blurted out, "Why did you agree to let him visit our home? Are you trying to have an affair?" Cheng Jin's hand jerked, startled, and the dishes he was holding clattered to the floor. He frantically denied it. "I didn't. Vice Admiral Regal wants to visit you. It has nothing to do with me. If either of us is having an affair, it's clearly you, isn't it? He'd only agreed to Aisher's request out of politeness, considering Lu Tao's position. Now, Lu Tao was accusing him of wanting an affair. The initial shock of Lu Tao's words gave way to rising anger. Who was the one constantly with such a handsome subordinate? Who was the one who'd become a love-struck fool after being rescued by said subordinate? By the way, Cheng Jin asked, how do you even know the word affair? Lu Tao immediately brought up his datapad. The doctor said I have very little knowledge right now, so I need to study. Cheng Jin peered at the screen. The search history displayed queries like, what is an extramarital affair? And what are the signs of infidelity? Cheng Jin was utterly stunned. Why would Lu Tao be searching these things? It was completely out of character. The next moment, something even more out of character happened. Lu Tao pulled Cheng Jin into his arms, nuzzling against his neck, and asked him, with a look of deep affection, to teach him certain things. Cheng Jin's face burned crimson. This was the husband he'd always dreamed of. Fate was truly kind to him. Maybe there was still a chance for them. A week later, Lu Tao was discharged. Feli escorted them back to their house. This is the property the government allocated to us after we got married, Cheng Jin explained to Lu Tao. Later, when your rank increased, they expanded it for free. Suddenly, Feli addressed Cheng Jin. Mr. Cheng, Admiral Lu asked me to order a car over 3 months ago. A personal vehicle. A personal car? Lu Tao, due to his rank, could only use military vehicles. He wasn't allowed to own a personal one. Who was it for? The car arrived 10 days ago, Feli continued. Since Admiral Lu didn't specify who it was for, I didn't know what to do with it. Would it be possible to store it at your and the Admiral's residence for the time being? Mr. Cheng, do you have any idea who it might be for? I don't know, Cheng Jin replied apologetically. Looking at Feli's slight bow, Cheng Jin knew he wouldn't get any more information from him. Could Lu Tao have bought it for him? 3 months ago. That was before the amnesia. The Lu Tao who had wanted to take him somewhere. Could that place have been to open a joint bank account? No, impossible. It must have been the divorce registration office. So, Lu Tao really did have someone else he liked. Lost in thought, Cheng Jin entered the house, only to find Lu Tao, who is usually so cold towards Cheng, interacting affectionately with the little robot. Oh, my dear master, you're finally back, Cheng chirped. Cheng missed you so much. I even cried secretly twice when I learned about your accident. In my heart, of course, Cheng continued. Since I'm a robot, I can't shed real tears. I'm the last generation of emotional robots. Not only can I keep the entire house in perfect order, but I can also communicate with my master with genuine emotion. Seeing Cheng Jin enter, Lu Tao gestured towards the small robot. His name is Cheng. Cheng Jin had barely managed a yes before Cheng eagerly interjected. My previous master gave me that name. Cheng Jin bent down and patted the robot's small head. Thank you, Cheng. Cheng was overjoyed at the gratitude. Young master, you're becoming more and more polite. Cheng likes you very much. With that, Cheng bustled off to resume his duties. Lu Tao looked curious. A previous master? He's secondhand. Watching Cheng go, Cheng Jin thought of his brother. No, he's a wedding gift from my brother. He was pulled back to the present by Lu Tao's voice. Is he always this talkative? He likes handsome men, Cheng Jin replied. He gets chatty around them. Are you saying I'm handsome? The Admiral asked, seizing the opportunity to flirt with his spouse. A slightly flustered Cheng Jin answered honestly. You are handsome. Master. Cheng has packed all the luggage. I'm very fast, right? And Master and Little Master's bedrooms are also tidied up. Please follow me. Cheng, the robot chirped. We're sleeping in separate rooms. Why are we sleeping in separate rooms? Why won't you sleep with me? Hearing Lu Tao's barrage of questions, Cheng Jin felt a moment of panic. He berated himself for forgetting about this. He should have told Cheng earlier. I toss and turn in my sleep. I'm afraid of disturbing you. That's why we're sleeping separately, right? Lu Tao wore an expression of utter dejection. Lying to Lu Tao like this was incredibly stressful for Cheng Jin. Still, he wanted to try one last excuse. I kick off the blankets. I grind my teeth and snore. And I've been used to sleeping alone since I was little. It's hard to change. Suddenly, a hand rested on his head, stopping Cheng Jin mid-excuse. I don't mind. Stunned, Cheng Jin thought he'd misheard. He stammered, what? Lu Tao took Cheng Jin's hands in his, gazing intently into his eyes. I said I don't mind, he repeated earnestly. Whether you kick the blankets, grind your teeth, or snore, I don't mind. I want to sleep with you. Don't you want to? Chung Jin threw himself into his husband's arms, holding him tight. How can I not want to? This is what I've always dreamed of. Chung Jin's bedroom was on the first floor. As Lu Tao entered, he felt a sense of comfort. This was undeniably Chung Jin style. Suddenly, Lu Tao noticed a small woven bamboo basket. It was quite charming, but it felt like something was missing. "Is this a vase?" he asked. "It's a container for small items," Chung Jin added silently in his mind. "It used to hold a night pearl, his most prized possession. He'd later sold it through his brother to buy medicine for his father. This shape is a bit unique. Where did you buy it?" "I made it myself," Chung Jin replied. Lu Tao was surprised by the answer. Although he didn't remember the past, he felt that Chung Jin wouldn't do something like this. He felt a flicker of curiosity about their past, but also a strange reluctance to know. "Why aren't we intimate? Married for 7 years and no children. Is it because of this?" He wondered. Just moments before, Lu Tao had been thrilled, practically turning into a wolf with excitement, imagining his beloved knitting him a scarf and gloves. But at a crucial moment, Chung Jin interrupted him. Lu Tao assumed Chung Jin wanted to freshen up and even offered to help. But to his dismay, Chung Jin pulled a box of condoms from the nightstand. Now Lu Tao was truly displeased. Who would want a third-party present during intimate moments with their lover? But after observing Chung Jin these past 2 days, he knew Chung Jin loved him deeply, albeit timidly. How could Chung Jin be asking him to use something that created a barrier between them? "Why aren't we intimate?" he asked. I just feel I'm still young. I'm not in a hurry." Lu Tao didn't believe him. He decided to press the issue. "You must not love me enough." This statement made Chung Jin panic. How could he not love Lu Tao? He was the only person Chung Jin had ever cared for and admired throughout his entire youth. Held tightly in Chung Jin's embrace, Lu Tao's eyes darkened. He understood. He must have treated Chung Jin poorly in the past, causing him to be so cautious now. "So, are you ready now? I have 8 months of leave. Why don't we make up for lost time?" Lu Tao said this because of his amnesia. When he regained his memory, he would only think that Chung Jin had somehow seduced him. After all, he didn't love Chung Jin and wouldn't love any child born to him. Such a precious little life shouldn't come into a world without a father's love. "Wait a little longer, okay? Well, I'm a year older. I won't be afraid. Then, I'll do whatever you want." Perhaps by then, he wouldn't ask again. Lu Tao didn't use protection, as he'd promised Chung Jin he would. Afterwards, he cheerfully went to take a shower, unaware of the turmoil he'd caused his partner. Chung Jin, clutching his aching back, was checking the medicine cabinet for emergency contraceptives. To encourage births, the empire had set exorbitant prices on anything that hindered this policy. One box of these pills cost at least 15,000 credits. After spending that, and paying for his father's medicine for the week, he'd only have enough left for a week's worth of nutrient solution. But he had no choice, did he? Sensing Lu Tao was about to emerge from the shower, Chung Jin quickly turned off the light panel. The current Lu Tao was truly a gift from the heavens. He would carefully clean Chung Jin afterwards, ask if he was tired and wanted to sleep, and hold him close, caressing him in his arms. It felt like a dream. But then, Lu Tao asked the question Chung Jin had been dreading. "By the way, how did we meet?" "In a few months, when you've recovered, you'll remember everything." The old Lu Tao probably wouldn't have pressed further, but the current Lu Tao was clingy. He persistently wanted to know. Seeing Lu Tao's eagerness, Chung Jin, though reluctant, couldn't refuse him. 8 years ago, Lu Tao was a student at the military academy headquarters. Unlike the regular high school I attended, the headquarters was for the elite of the elite in the empire. It was strictly managed, but students had a few days off each month. And Lu Tao prompted, "Want to hear more?" Chung Jin hesitated, the memories bittersweet and tinged with a familiar ache. Students from other schools could also enter and enjoy the facilities. Chung Jin arrived at the bustling basketball court, immediately struck by the sound of Lu Tao's booming voice echoing within. Guided by a classmate, he soon spotted Lu Tao, his long limbs, powerful yet smoothly defined muscles, and that face, which no matter how many times Chung Jin saw it, never failed to make his heart race. Chung Jin's hand, holding the binoculars, followed Lu Tao's rapidly moving figure across the court. The high-powered lenses allowed him to clearly see the bobbing of Lu Tao's throat as he swallowed, moving rhythmically up and down. He could also clearly see the sheen of sweat clinging to Lu Tao's skin after exertion. In that moment, Chung Jin was lost. He wanted him. "Why do you cry so much? You're making me feel energized again." Lu Tao, unaware of the weight his casual reminiscing about their past held for Chung Jin, continued. The intimacy and attention Lu Tao had shown him these past few days was like an addiction, something Cheng Jin could no longer control. He told Lu Tao that after his initial confession had been rejected, he hadn't given up and Lu Tao had finally been moved by his persistence. But in his heart, Cheng Jin knew it was all a lie. After Lu Tao had rejected him, he'd begged his father and brother for help. They had always spoiled him, indulging his every whim. So, when Lu Tao's grandmother needed surgery, they had intervened, threatening Lu Tao and causing a delay in the procedure. Now, she was confined to a wheelchair. Why are you upset? Do you blame me for rejecting you back then? Looking at his husband, trying to comfort him, Cheng Jin was filled with regret. He'd regretted it for a long time, recognizing his mistake. But it was something he couldn't fix. And now he was making another mistake. His husband, once his memory returned, would surely hate him even more. But what could he do? He couldn't bring himself to tell the truth now. Darling, why do you cry so much? You're making me feel energized again. Lu Tao's words pulled his beloved out of his emotional turmoil. A beautiful evening began. Even if it was built on a lie, Cheng Jin decided to see it through. Over the next few days, they lived as if on their honeymoon. During this time, their home welcomed many guests, bearing gifts that delighted Cheng Jin, like the plate of honey grapes he now held in his hands. They were expensive. Cheng Jin hadn't tasted them in 2 years. He peeled one and offered it to Lu Tao, a tentative gesture laced with cautious hope. Seeing Lu Tao didn't react with disgust, Cheng Jin relaxed slightly. Noticing Cheng Jin's enjoyment, Lu Tao caught the hand that was about to withdraw, gently licking the juice from his fingers. Actually, I prefer this flavor. You eat the rest. But Cheng Jin, looking slightly hesitant, asked, Could I take some to my father? You've been trying so hard to stop me from going. Is the person you're meeting not your father, but an ex-boyfriend? His beloved's pitiful request to take some grapes to his father was, of course, met with Lu Tao's agreement. Seeing Cheng Jin being so cautious about asking his permission for something as simple as fruit made Lu Tao's heart ache. I'll go with you to see him. Hearing this, Cheng Jin startled, quickly suggesting that Lu Tao should rest. Visiting an ailing elder is a sign of respect, especially your father. It's my duty to go. Despite Lu Tao's insistence, Cheng Jin continued to protest, saying his father's condition was stable and didn't require a visit. After all, the coercion by Cheng Jin's father and brother had led to Lu Tao avoiding any contact with them for 7 years. But Lu Tao was getting suspicious. You've been trying so hard to stop me from going. Is the person you're meeting not your father, but an ex-boyfriend? The accusation of infidelity startled Cheng Jin, who quickly denied it. He didn't even have an ex-boyfriend. Then let me go too. Seeing Lu Tao's persistence, Cheng Jin could only agree. He hoped that after his memory returned, Lu Tao wouldn't dwell on it too much. The sleek car and the handsome man at the door were both things Cheng Jin greatly admired. Unfortunately, the car wasn't for him, and the man was a limited edition. Neither was meant for him. Lost in thought, he was brought back to reality by Lu Tao, who called him to the car, holding the honey grapes and gifts. The chance to go out with his husband like this filled Cheng Jin with excitement. He enthusiastically pointed out various landmarks of the empire along the way. He used to be very familiar with this place. Unlike Lu Tao, whose world had always revolved around the military academy and headquarters. They soon arrived at the hospital. It was a beautiful facility and, of course, expensive. This was one of the reasons the Cheng family had fallen into such dire straits after their bankruptcy. I have no memory, yet I feel this inexplicable aversion to this man. We must not have gotten along well before. So he can smile so brightly at others. How irritating. Cheng Fu was naturally happy to see Cheng Jin, but his joy faltered when he saw the tall figure behind his son. A single glance was all it took for both men to form an unfavorable impression. One instinctively disliked the other, while the other was surprised to see him there. Even Cheng Jin, standing between them, felt the oppressive atmosphere. He grew tense, unsure how to ease the tension. Lu Tao, noticing his partner's discomfort, he tried several times to call out Dad, but the words caught in his throat. Cheng, the robot, quickly intervened. You don't have to call him Dad. You used to call him Mr. Cheng. Lu Tao breathed a sigh of relief. Addressing him as Mr. Cheng counted as a greeting. Cheng Fu, Cheng Jin's father, gave a wry smile. It seems he really has lost his memory. Otherwise, he wouldn't have come to see this old man. It had been a while since Chung Jin had seen his father. Hoping to redirect his father's attention and cheer him up, he leaned against the bed, feigning a playful demeanor as he inquired about his father's health. After catching up, Chung Jin remembered the fruit he had brought. His father had always enjoyed it. He was pleased to see his father savoring the fruit, seemingly even more so than when Chung Jin himself ate it. However, this scene of filial piety and paternal affection made Lu Tao feel a pang of discomfort. He knew he shouldn't be jealous of his own father-in-law, but he couldn't suppress the feeling. "Xiao Jin," Chang Fu said, "I don't have any tea to offer our guest. Could you go and get some hot water for your husband?" It was clear that Chang Fu wanted to speak to Lu Tao privately. Chung Jin, however, remained oblivious. Lu Tao, on the other hand, asked directly, "Is there something you'd like to say to me alone?" What can a father say to his son's partner? Chung Fu began. "Besides hoping you'll take good care of him, I have no other requests. Your hobby is sewing women's dresses. It is, and you make a little money on the side," Chung Jin stammered, interrupting unintentionally. Chung Fu continued, explaining that when the Chung family first faced their crisis, he had reached out to Lu Tao for help, but received no response. He acknowledged that there wasn't much of a relationship between them, but he'd been desperate. "Please, just be good to Xiao Jin. He truly loves you." Although Lu Tao felt no warmth towards the older man, he was Chung Jin's father. "I looked into your case," Lu Tao explained. "I wouldn't have been able to help. Because there were no casualties and your family's title protected you. You avoided being sent to Hellstar. You were lucky. As for Chung Jin, I will take good care of him." "I'm not talking about now," Chung Fu countered, "but after you regain your memory." Chung Fu's words struck a nerve. Lu Tao knew he should investigate the issues in their marriage, but a strange fear held him back. Lost in thought, they returned home. Chung Jin urged Lu Tao to rest, explaining that he needed to finish a dress in his workshop before he could sleep. Lu Tao was surprised to learn Chung Jin sewed. In the Empire, skilled craftspeople were rare. Chung Jin saw Lu Tao's puzzled expression. With Lu Tao recuperating at home for months, he couldn't hide his work any longer. "It's a hobby," he explained, a slight blush creeping up his neck. As Chung Jin opened the door to his workshop, revealing a room filled with garments, Lu Tao asked, "Your hobby is sewing women's dresses?" It is, and I make a little money on the side," Chung Jin stammered again. "I'll be finished soon. After I'm done, I'll come and keep you company, okay?" Even without his memories, Lu Tao could now see the truth. "Do you need money?" he asked. "I can give you some. I checked my account balance, and it's quite substantial." Even with his burgeoning business, Chung Jin still loved Lu Tao deeply, but his focus wasn't solely on him anymore. They worked independently for 2 hours. As Chung Jin stretched his shoulders, the satisfaction of completing his work filled him with a contentment that his previous extravagant spending had never brought. Seeing him finish, Lu Tao solicitously offered him a glass of water. Enjoying the Admiral's attentiveness, Chung Jin shed some of his earlier apprehension. "What did you find out?" he asked casually. "There's so much to go through," Lu Tao replied. "I haven't been able to read it all yet." Chung Jin's spirits dampened at Lu Tao's response. "I suppose so, but don't worry too much. Once the toxins are completely flushed from your system, you'll remember." He decided to shift the mood. "Look," he said, holding up his finished creation for his husband to admire. Lu Tao offered his praise. His little spouse was as radiant as the gems adorning the dress. "The measurements are perfect, and the crystal count is correct. It's finally finished." "Yes," Chung Jin replied, "and now you finally have time for me." After washing up, Chung Jin joined Lu Tao in the bedroom, only to find him still engrossed in his datapad. Curious, he crawled closer to see what held his attention. As the content registered, a blush crept up his cheeks, though his fingers, pressed against his eyes, didn't hide much. "Why are you looking at that?" he asked. "Research," Lu Tao replied with a smirk. "My mind is a blank slate right now. I need to learn how to please my partner." Chung Jin couldn't believe he was hearing such suggestive words from the usually stoic Admiral Lu Tao. It was so outrageous, so brazen, so exciting. He loved it. "Practice makes perfect," Lu Tao continued. "I'll work hard to improve the odds." Chung Jin was taken aback. He hadn't expected Lu Tao to be so eager for children, especially after losing his memory. He was certainly different, but they wouldn't have children. He'd taken precautions. He'd bought enough medication to last Lu Tao's entire convalescence. since Lu Tao's memory loss, their intimacy had been remarkably harmonious. Every time, Lu Tao would drift off to sleep, utterly content. Lu Tao, intending to slip out of bed for a quick trip to the military headquarters, had barely risen when Cheng Jin stirred. As if unable to bear even a moment's separation, he anxiously asked when Lu Tao would return. Lu Tao looked back, offering a reassuring glance. Soon, he promised, sealing the words with a parting kiss. Another parting kiss. Cheng Jin thought, I wish time could just stop at this moment. After Lu Tao left, watching Cheng cheerfully cleaning the house, Cheng Jin thought of his brother. They hadn't spoken in a while. He sent a video call request, but it went unanswered. Cheng Jin felt a pang of disappointment. Perhaps his brother was busy. He would just have to wait. To his surprise, his brother returned the call almost immediately. What's up? Cheng Jin was overjoyed to see his brother. He simply wanted to catch up, but he only noticed his brother's worn clothing, oblivious to the flicker of anxiety in his eyes. He cheerfully invited his brother over, but his brother, seemingly preoccupied, agreed hastily and quickly ended the call. Cheng Jin couldn't have imagined that his brother, on the other end of that call, was in a precarious situation. Sugu, you're remarkably resilient. See how kind I am? I didn't embarrass you in front of your little brother. You can still be the good older brother in his eyes. The night pearl had once been Cheng Jin's prized possession. He never expected to see it again, much less presented to him by his husband. I saw it at the office today and thought you'd like it, so I brought it home. This was the very night Pearl Cheng Jin had asked his brother to sell. Why was it in Lu Tao's office? Seeing Cheng Jin lost in thought, Lu Tao asked, puzzled, don't you like it? Cheng Jin snapped back to reality. I love it, he said quickly. Upon closer inspection, he confirmed it was indeed the same night pearl. Could Lu Tao have been the buyer all those years ago? Why would he buy something so useless to him? Seeing Cheng Jin spiraling into another bout of overthinking, Lu Tao playfully pinched his cheek. Cheng Jin nuzzled against him, showering him with affection and assurances of his delight with the gift. A sweet kiss finally appeased Lu Tao, gently placing the night pearl into the small boat-shaped ornament in their bedroom. Lu Tao remarked on how perfectly it fit. Because I made it for that very purpose, Cheng Jin thought to himself. Oh, by the way, my brother is coming to visit tomorrow. Are you going out? Your brother's coming? And you're asking if I'm going out? Am I in the way? That's not what I meant. I just thought if you weren't going out, we could all chat together. Cheng Jin's mind flashed back to the past. Please, this is the first time my family has offered to visit us. You can't be absent. Back then, Lu Tao had callously refused. Your family matters have nothing to do with me. But we're married. So what? You're the last person who should be saying that. The painful memories resurfaced, prompting him to ask, and this time, he received the answer he longed for. I won't go out. I'll be here to meet your family. Mr. Handsome, allow me to introduce myself. I'm Cheng, the most beloved little robot in this household. I specialize in cleaning and enjoy listening to music while tidying up. My favorite singer is Tim. Observing Cheng fawning over Regal, Lu Tao felt a pang of jealousy. He marched into the kitchen to complain to Cheng Jin. Cheng has betrayed me. Cheng Jin chuckled at Lu Tao's childishness. Cheng is always like this. He can't resist a handsome face, but he still likes you best. Don't worry. Lu Tao, reassured by Cheng Jin's confidence, took the opportunity to snuggle closer and ask. Cheng is the only generation of robots programmed with emotional bonds. They extracted genes from me, so his emotions are subtly linked to mine. I like you best, so naturally, he does too. He was even more affectionate toward you than me when he first met you. Lu Tao, initially calm, suddenly realized the implication. So you like handsome men too? Feeling Lu Tao's arms tighten around him, Cheng Jin quickly clarified. Cheng didn't get that from me. I only like you. Meanwhile, Regal, who had been ignored since his arrival, was feeling neglected. Hey, you two, hiding in here, enjoying yourselves while leaving your guest out in the cold? Is that really how you treat a friend who came to visit? The flight attendant awkwardly explained that he only wanted Lu Tao to try the food. Lu Tao, however, completely ignored the uninvited Rigel. He hadn't forgotten Cheng Jin's knowing look when he saw him. Today was the same. He thought Chung Fu had arrived, but when he opened the door, he saw this peacock instead. And he even brought a huge gift box. Was it because he knew Chung Jin liked opening presents? Although he knew he was being petty, Lu Tao couldn't control his slight annoyance. He snatched the oversized gift box. A sudden doorbell interrupted his thoughts. Chung Jin cheerfully ran to open the door. Rigel said meaningfully to Lu Tao, "Look how excited he is." Who could it be? He didn't finish his sentence before Lu Tao cut him off. "It's his brother." I was going to guess his brother too. Seeing Lu Tao's possessive glare, Rigel chuckled. "Whoa there, old friend. What's with that look? Like I'm going to steal your partner. This isn't like you. You never used to mention your partner. You rarely came back either. I thought you two weren't getting along. Never mentioned him." Lu Tao already knew his relationship with his past self was strained, but he didn't realize it was so bad that he never mentioned his partner to anyone. "Yeah, we were partners for 3 years. I never met your mister. Doesn't that tell you something? Mister? Who allowed you to call him that?" Seeing Lu Tao's contorted face, Rigel quickly appeased him. "Don't be so tense. It's just an honorific. Come on, let's go meet your brother-in-law. Speaking of which, Shui Ge and I know each other. Long time no see." Arriving at the door, Rigel not only saw Chung Fu, but also Yin Qi, his cousin. Yin Qi, the scion of the native Yin family, was now a successful and prominent businessman. With this year's rankings coming out, he was likely to take the top spot as the richest man. Another uninvited guest. Lu Tao was already irritated, but Yin Qi acted as if he didn't notice. He enthusiastically introduced himself to Lu Tao. "Shui Ge and I have known each other since we were kids. We're childhood sweethearts. Chung Jin is married now. He's mine." Lu Tao, still recovering at home, was getting increasingly agitated. He'd lost count of how many times he'd felt a pang of jealousy today. He saw Chung Jin smile at Rigel. He was jealous knowing Chung had a familial bond with Chung Jin and might have a preference for handsome men. He was jealous hearing Rigel call Chung Jin Xiao Jin so affectionately. Now this kid, who appeared out of nowhere, was claiming to be childhood sweethearts with Chung Jin. Lu Tao really wanted to throw him out. Seeing Lu Tao being so protective of Chung Jin, Chung Fu felt reassured. It seemed he really was different from before. At Lu Tao's pitiful, puppy dog expression, Chung Jin sighed. "All right, please invite our guest to sit down and have some fruit. Dinner will be ready soon." After soothing Lu Tao, Chung Jin took Chung Fu's hand. "Brother, come with me. Are you doing okay? Are you eating and dressing warmly? Are you getting enough rest?" As soon as they entered the kitchen, Chung Jin bombarded him with questions. His brother's work was now heavily restricted, and he was genuinely worried he wouldn't be able to cope. Chung Fu was slightly stunned by the barrage of questions. Just as he was about to reassure Chung Jin, his brother suddenly threw his arms around him. He hadn't slept well the previous night, and Chung Jin's embrace jostled his injury, causing him to let out a soft groan. He quickly recovered and hugged his younger brother back, comforting him just like he used to when they were children. "I'm doing all right, brother. Don't worry." After calming down a little, Chung Jin remembered something. "Right, brother, that Song Wolf gemstone I asked you to sell. Why did it end up with Lu Tao? With him? We did the transaction online. The buyer chose to remain anonymous. A dedicated delivery bot picked it up, so I don't have any information about the buyer. Do you think Lu Tao was trying to help me?" "My dear brother, if he wanted to help you, there are many ways he could have done it. The most straightforward would be to open a joint account with you. But he didn't do that. For 2 years, he's practically ignored you. How likely do you think it is that he was deliberately trying to help you?" "True. Lu Tao was already asking for a divorce before his accident. Why would he help me? Then why would he buy something he doesn't like? Perhaps he was buying it for someone else." "Impossible. After his accident, no one suspicious came to visit him. Maybe the person isn't on the Imperial planet and couldn't come. Or maybe Lu Tao didn't want you to find out. But there wasn't anything unusual on his communicator. Even if they couldn't come, they would have communicated. With his personality, it wouldn't be difficult for him to cover his tracks completely. Perhaps they agreed to temporarily suspend contact while Lu Tao is back here." Seeing his younger brother's disappointed expression, Chung Fu felt a pang of sadness. He didn't want Chung Jin to get his hopes up only to have them dashed again. After all, he had finally managed to reach this point. Chung Fu gently approached Chung Jin. "In a few months, we'll leave here. I've contacted a doctor and found a hospital on Planet 6. We just need to wait for Dad to stabilize after his surgery, then we can leave. Based on the timeline, it should be around the time Lu Tao wakes up. We'll go together then. Don't worry, sweetheart. No matter what, I'll take good care of you." Chung Jin was surprised by his brother's words. He didn't quite understand why Chung Fu wanted to take him and their father away. He could only assume it was because his brother was too burdened and had no one to care for him. If only you had gotten married back then, Chung Jin thought, a sister-in-law could have taken care of you. Cheng Jin's words brought the image of Yin Qi's face to Cheng Fu's mind. He felt a bead of sweat trickle down the back of his neck. "Brother, do you still have any thoughts of getting married?" Cheng Fu was about to answer when a sly voice cut through the air. "Who does Cheng Fu want to marry? He and I had a childhood engagement." Cheng Fu can testify to that. Cheng Fu had been pulled into the kitchen and hadn't come out for a while. Cheng, the robot, was getting restless. He went to the kitchen door and overheard the brothers discussing marriage. "The only one who can marry Cheng Fu is me. Doesn't he realize that yet?" Sensing the strange atmosphere, and thankfully the meal was ready, Cheng Jin quickly ushered everyone to the table. Yin Qi, noticing Cheng Fu's discomfort, wanted to see him squirm, so he brought up the past. "Didn't Cheng Fu and I have a childhood engagement?" Hearing this, Lu Tao bristled. "Was there such a thing?" Cheng Jin immediately denied it. "I've never heard of it." Yin Qi slung an arm around Cheng Fu's waist. Cheng Fu can testify to that. Cheng Fu knew that ignoring Yin Qi would only embolden him. Resigned, he said, "There was such a thing, but it was just childish talk between our families. Don't take it seriously." Cheng Jin secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Lu Tao, however, was practically turning purple. Just where did this annoying guy come from? He fumed internally. Yin Qi completely disregarded Lu Tao's displeasure and tilted his head, looking at Cheng Fu. "I, however, take it very seriously. I've always dreamt of marrying my childhood sweetheart." Yin Qi's words became increasingly outrageous, forcing Lu Tao to interrupt him and reassert his claim. "Yin Qi, Cheng Jin and I are already married. I'd appreciate it if you refrained from such jokes in the future." Lu Tao's protectiveness warmed Cheng Jin's heart. He was overjoyed, seeing the tension escalating. Rigel quickly stepped in to smooth things over. Come, let's eat. Let's not waste Cheng Jin's hard work." The lunch eventually ended pleasantly. As Cheng Fu was leaving, Cheng Jin gave him some homemade food and urged him to take care of himself. Watching his brother's retreating figure, Cheng Jin was lost in thought. Suddenly, Lu Tao, who had been standing beside him, spoke. "So reluctant to part?" Without thinking, Cheng Jin replied, "Of course I am. I don't know when I'll see my brother again." Lu Tao firmly pulled Cheng Jin back into his arms, forcing him to look only at him. "I was talking about Yin Qi. I made a big mistake once, so grandmother doesn't like me. She might tell you about it. If you hate me too, I'll leave." Cheng Jin knew this day would come. Lu Tao would definitely visit his grandmother after being discharged. He should go too. But when Lu Tao invited him along, Cheng Jin refused. "My presence will only upset her. It's better if I don't go. I made a mistake once. She might tell you about it." Seeing his anxious partner, Lu Tao offered a comforting smile. "You know you were wrong now, don't you? The you now is good. You're making amends." Mustering his courage, Cheng Jin handed Lu Tao a blanket he had knitted. "I knitted a blanket for grandmother. It's made of the finest cashmere. The weather is getting colder. It'll keep her legs warm. But don't tell her it was for me. I'm afraid she won't accept it. Don't worry. I'll be back soon." Cheng Jin had fantasized about this kind of comforting head pat from his husband. He hadn't expected that the day it came true, his heart would be filled with such bitterness. It was more painful than never having known the light. Watching Lu Tao's departing figure, Cheng Jin was terrified. What if his grandmother told Lu Tao the truth? What if he got angry? He remembered the Lu Tao who had been furious over Yin Qi's words, and the Lu Tao whose anger had melted away with a single kiss. Would he ever see that Lu Tao again? No, I have to do something. I wonder if seducing him will work. It should, right? After all, even when their relationship was at its worst, his husband had never softened. Right, I bought a lot of little toys that I haven't used yet. I think they're under the bed in the bedroom. I'll get them ready now. I have to appease him. Imagine you're at home, secretly pulling out online shopping toys. Try to figure out how they work, and suddenly you hear a voice behind you asking, "What are you doing?" How panicked would you be? Cheng Jin was experiencing that feeling firsthand. Although these were bought back when he wanted to conquer Lu Tao, but Lu Tao was too cold and unyielding. He'd never given him a chance to use them. He didn't even know if Lu Tao would like them. But the website staff said these were very popular. Lost in thought, Cheng Jin was startled when Lu Tao suddenly appeared. Lu Tao asked him what he was doing. Cheng Jin's hand trembled, and everything tumbled to the floor. What was he doing? How could he explain? He hadn't even made his preparations. Why had Lu Tao come back so soon? What to do? So, Cheng Jin's ultimate solution was to dive under the bed. Avoidance. But Cheng Jin seemed to have forgotten one crucial detail. The box was still out in the open, left to face Lu Tao alone. hidden under the bed. A flicker of Chung Jin's limited intelligence returned. He realized then that the evidence was just sitting there, blatantly displayed before Lu Tao. Hiding wouldn't do any good. Lu Tao gently coaxed Chung Jin to come out, but he refused. Left with no choice, Lu Tao crawled under the bed himself to retrieve him. It had to be said, Chung Jin really was a fool. The beautiful young man was covering his face, muttering, "Can't see me, can't see me." The sight of Chung Jin huddled like a round little animal was utterly endearing to Lu Tao. He fought back a smile and sternly called out again, "Come out." Chung Jin couldn't keep up the act any longer. He had to face the music eventually, didn't he? He crawled out cautiously, looking up at Lu Tao with pleading eyes. Lu Tao pulled him into an embrace. "What's wrong? Have I displeased you? These were free gifts from a seller. I didn't buy them. The moment I'm not home, you want to play by yourself?" Lu Tao teased his little companion, finding him endlessly amusing. I got these out to please you. Why do you need to please me?" Chung Jin hesitated for a long moment before confessing. "I'm afraid grandmother will tell you some things that will make you angry." "Are you angry?" Actually, his grandmother hadn't told him anything, but he wanted to see what lengths Chung Jin would go to in order to appease him, what tempting things he might do. So, he wouldn't interrupt him. "Have you used all of these?" Chung Jin quickly explained. No, I haven't used them. See, they're all new, unopened." The next moment, Lu Tao fastened the bell-adorned collar around Chung Jin's neck. "It fits perfectly. It's beautiful. Good boy, put on the cat ears too. They suit you." Having just coaxed Chung Jin into wearing the cat ears, Lu Tao discovered something new. A temporary tattoo. "You bought this too?" Seeing the suggestive words on the tattoo, Chung Jin panicked. This really wasn't something he'd bought. It was a free gift from the seller. He tried to snatch it back and throw it away, but Lu Tao wouldn't let him. "Really? Let me put on your waist." "Good, don't move." "Very sexy. I like it very much." Since things had gone this far, Chung Jin abandoned his reserve. He had intended to seduce Lu Tao, after all. But seeing his companion's uninhibited demeanor, Lu Tao felt a flicker of annoyance. "Why did you want to buy these things in the first place? You wouldn't. No matter how I tried to please you, how I begged, you wouldn't. So, I just wanted to try, that's why I bought them. But after that, I couldn't even see you. I chased after you, applying to join the military. The military approved it, but you sent me back the next day. Please look at me. Don't ignore me anymore. As long as you like me, I'll do anything." Chung Jin's heartfelt confession nearly melted Lu Tao's heart. And so, things proceeded thus and so. "Fairy, send me my itinerary for the past 7 years." Seeing Chung Jin so docile, he didn't seem like someone who would threaten the person he married. Yet, in their interactions, he was excessively humble and always seemed insecure. Perhaps his past self had been very cold to him. What kind of treatment could have led him to be like this? He wanted to know now. Fairy was incredibly efficient, as if he'd been prepared. Lu Tao had barely given the order when he received Fairy's response. Looking at the contents on the screen, Lu Tao couldn't help but be surprised. "In 7 years, I've only been back for a total of 5 months and 3 days. And even then, I was often training at military headquarters, rarely home. So, how much actual time did I give him? How much could he have loved such a cold and distant me to not have filed for divorce? How'd I feel about him before? If my personality hasn't completely changed since the amnesia, based on how I feel now, if I truly couldn't stand someone, I would never maintain even a superficial relationship with them, especially since he's so strikingly attractive to me." Suddenly, Lu Tao noticed something interesting in his itinerary. Chung Jin applied to join the military, but 38 hours later, he was sent back to Hera Planet on my private jet. And at that time, I had just finished cleaning up the last wave of the werewolf group. Given my cautious nature before, I wouldn't have let my guard down until everything was thoroughly investigated. So, sending him back immediately at that time, could it have been out of concern for his safety? If I truly loathed him before, then what are my current feelings? Where did you get that stuff? What if someone used it on you? You wouldn't even know you'd been taken advantage of. You just wake up. Lu Tao trailed off, his voice laced with a mixture of concern and disbelief. He'd woken to find Chung Jin seemingly oblivious to the passionate heat of the previous night. Unlike other times, after they'd used the lubricant from the box, Chung Jin had been unusually alluring. Lu Tao had initially attributed it to the stimulating effect of the toys, but now he wasn't so sure. Where did you buy it? What if someone used it on you? You wouldn't even know you were being taken advantage of. Have you used it before? Lu Tao pressed, the questions tumbling out. No, I've forgotten where I bought it. Maybe it was a free gift from the seller. I really haven't used it before, Chung Jin insisted, his voice small. Even if I did use it, it would only be with you. I haven't been intimate with any other man. Seeing the familiar flicker of anxiety in Chung Jin's eyes, Lu Tao gently kissed his eyelids, soothing his slightly frightened partner. Once they had both calmed down, Lu Tao brought up something else. AI Shui invited me to a party. Do you want to go together? In an instant, Chung Jin was thrown back to the past 7 years. Lu Tao had always refused to take him to any social gatherings. Instinctively, he replied, I don't want to go. Lu Tao, however, was clearly displeased with this answer. You're refusing before you even know what kind of party it is? Are you that unwilling to go out with me? Chung Jin quickly realized this was the amnesiac Lu Tao. He genuinely did have other commitments, though. Your parties are definitely those competitive types. I can't. It's not that I'm unwilling. It's just that I still have unfinished work. Time is tight. Hearing Chung Jin mention work, Lu Tao was reminded of Chung Jin's current financial situation. You don't have to work so hard. We can open a joint account. I've checked. We just need to go sign together, and then our assets can be shared. Sweetheart, he needs our family's help right now. Only by making him dependent on us will he be obedient. Will he be good to you? If you open a joint account, how will you be able to pull him away? Back then, Chung Fu had strongly opposed Chung Jin opening a joint account with Lu Tao. Despite being deeply infatuated with Lu Tao, Chung Jin had listened to his father and brother. And whether it was Lu Tao still studying at the military academy, or Lu Tao powerless and climbing up from the bottom ranks of the military, or even indifferent Lu Tao of their married years, no matter the time or circumstance, he had never relied on the Chung family's wealth. He had carved out his own promising future through his own hard work and struggle. That was why, when the Chung family fell into hardship, Chung Jin couldn't bring himself to ask Lu Tao for help. How could he, after having so maliciously misjudged Lu Tao, have the nerve to ask? There's no need to open a joint account. I can support myself. You're already covering all the household expenses. My father only needs money for medicine now. My brother and I can handle that. One day, Chung Jin finally finished sewing a custom-made dress. He arrived at Fengshang, the luxury goods store, to deliver it. As soon as he stepped inside, he heard an argument. I don't care how you do it, but I must wear a dress made by Madame Ruila before the Changhua banquet. Andy was dealing with a customer when he looked up and saw the two arguing figures standing before him. All three present knew each other, but only Andy knew that Chung Jin was Madame Ruila. After discovering Chung Jin's design talent, Andy had secretly crafted a persona within high society, a noble woman who loved making dresses but, due to her high status, preferred to remain anonymous. This way, Chung Jin could secure a steady stream of custom orders and increase his income, while Andy also profited handsomely. Due to the Chung family's bankruptcy, Chung Jin's former friends had deliberately distanced themselves from him. He hadn't had the opportunity to attend any high society events in 2 years, so he was completely unaware of how sought after his dresses, made under the guise of Madame Ruila, had become. Well, if it isn't young Master Chung. Still have money to spend here after going bankrupt. Lien Xiao, upon seeing Chung Jin, practically radiated animosity. Back then, in his pursuit of Lu Tao's affection, Chung Jin had believed that money could solve everything, that by driving away all the admirers around Lu Tao, he could win his heart. Lien Xiao had been one of those admirers. I'm sorry. Chung Jin apologized, his words catching Lien Xiao off guard. He hadn't expected an apology from Chung Jin. I was wrong to bully you back then. I am sorry. Though surprised, Lien Xiao had been harboring resentment ever since being driven away from Lu Tao. He wasn't about to forgive Chung Jin so easily. What's that in your arms? Lien Xiao deliberately provoked him. Chung Jin, caught off guard, dropped the exquisite dress he was carrying. Lien Xiao picked it up and instantly recognized it as Madame Ruila's work. Seeing Chung Jin's anxious expression to retrieve it, he immediately concluded that Chung Jin was just a delivery boy for Madame Ruila. He surreptitiously plucked a blue gemstone from the dress and hid it in his pocket. Then, mockingly referring to Chung Jin as a delivery boy, he roughly shoved the dress back at him. But Andy had been very clear when he'd given Chung Jin the dress to sew. The 148 gemstones were each incredibly valuable, and not a single one could be missing. Chung Jin had checked them repeatedly. Now, with a single glance, he could see one was gone. Although Chung Jin knew it was Lien Xiao who had orchestrated the whole ordeal, he felt a wave of crippling anxiety wash over him. "Did you happen to see a blue pearl?" he asked tentatively. Lien Xiao sneered. "What do you mean? Are you accusing me of stealing your pearl?" Seeing Chung Jin quickly shake his head and stammer denials, Lien Xiao theatrically pulled a pearl from his pocket. "As it happens, I have one right here." Chung Jin, desperate to avoid a scene, cautiously inquired, "Could you perhaps sell it to me? I have 100,000 in my account. I can give you all of it." "Do I look like someone who needs money?" Lien Xiao scoffed. "Tell you what, be my servant for a day at the Changhua banquet, and the pearl is yours." Chung Jin knew this was Lien Xiao's revenge. But if things escalated, if people found out Lu Tao's husband was working as a servant, it would be a scandal in high society. He couldn't bring that shame upon his husband. Besides, he had wronged Lien Xiao in the past. This humiliation was just payback. At least, it would only be humiliating in front of people from their past. No one here knew he was Lu Tao's husband. Fine, he conceded. "I agree. This kind of gem is priceless these days. 100,000 definitely wouldn't buy it. Think it over carefully. It's just being a servant for a day. And your family is bankrupt anyway. It can't get any more embarrassing than that. Being a servant is nothing," Chung Jin replied. "I agree." After agreeing to Lien Xiao's terms, Chung Jin returned home feeling dejected. To his surprise, Lu Tao presented him with a gift. Chung Jin's gloom lifted instantly. "What's this?" he asked, reaching for the package. Lu Tao playfully pulled it away. "Kiss me, and it's yours." Chung Jin blushed, but the chance for intimacy with Lu Tao was something he craved. With a soft moi, he planted a kiss on Lu Tao's cheek. Not to be outdone, Lu Tao scooped him up, placed him gently on the sofa, and demonstrated a more passionate kiss. "This is how adults kiss, Xiao Jin. Did you learn?" Satisfied, Lu Tao finally handed over the gift. "You like sapphires, right? I picked this one out especially for you. We're the bracelet I gave you, and you're mine. Don't even think about running away." A tender husband, a thoughtful gift. Chung Jin etched this moment into his memory. He thought that even if Lu Tao regained his memory and reverted to his old ways, these precious memories would sustain him for the rest of his life. By the way, Lu Tao said, "AI Shua mentioned there's another banquet at the end of the month. Do you want to go with me?" The words "end of the month" and "banquet" sent a jolt of panic through Chung Jin. Could it be the Changhua banquet? He piloted matches. Relief washed over him when he realized it couldn't be the same event, and he quickly declined Lu Tao's invitation. He couldn't break his promise to Lien Xiao. But Lu Tao looked disappointed. This time he wouldn't back down. However, even heroes have their weaknesses. Chung Jin turned on the charm, and with a bit of coaxing, Lu Tao relented. "I'll only perform for you, okay?" As his legal partner, Chung Jin held the title of Admiral's husband. He didn't need to resort to other means to stay in the empire. On the day of the Changhua banquet, Chung Jin arrived prepared to serve Lien Xiao as agreed. But he wasn't prepared for what Lien Xiao had in store. Lien Xiao provided him with a maid's outfit. A maid's outfit with a scandalously short skirt. "This isn't appropriate," Chung Jin protested. "There are male servant uniforms." Despite Chung Jin's objections, Lien Xiao, intent on humiliating him, was unmoved. He simply warned Chung Jin to fulfill his agreement. Lien Xiao then led Chung Jin into a circle of their old acquaintances, subjecting him to a barrage of scornful whispers, sarcastic jabs, and mocking laughter. Cold, indifferent words rained down on Chung Jin from all sides. All he could do was stand there, like a fool, tugging at the hem of his skirt, trying desperately to maintain some semblance of dignity. As if the public humiliation wasn't enough, Lien Xiao, upon hearing that the party organizers had arranged a mecha competition, saw another opportunity to embarrass Chung Jin. He ordered Chung Jin to participate. Much to everyone's surprise, and Chung Jin's own dismay, he won first place. He hadn't wanted to stand on the stage and receive any kind of award. It only drew more unwanted attention. But there was no one else in the group who was particularly skilled at piloting matches, so he became the champion by default. Suddenly, a sharp voice cut through the air, challenging his victory. A young woman in a purple gown approached the stage. Chung Jin immediately recognized the gown as one of his own creations, before he could properly admire his handiwork on someone else. The newcomer's harsh words forced him to lower his head in shame. "You have no right to be at this banquet," she declared. "Everyone knows your family is bankrupt. Or are you deliberately dressed like this to attract a man, hoping some blind fool will take you in as a kept man so you can stay on the imperial planet?" The mecha competition's live broadcast filled the screens of the makeshift theater. For Chung Jin, this was far more relaxing than being gawked at like a fool. Here, he'd even met someone interesting. Indeed, this burly man in a maid outfit was also dressed as a maid, just like Chung Jin. "Little Chung Jin," the man said, "let's make a deal. When you get that year-long dessert voucher for Nissa Cake Shop, you have to give it to me. I'm willing to pay 100,000 credits for it." Meanwhile, Lu Tao, dragged to the hovercraft races by AI Shui, had just discovered his partner, and he was dressed as an adorable maid, chatting cheerfully with another man. The veins in Lu Tao's temples pulsed visibly. He was about to storm out and demand to know why Chung Jin had refused him, and then secretly snuck off to the banquet without telling him, when he overheard whispers in the crowd. Does the Chung family's young master even know what mecha are? He's just waiting to cry his eyes out. Lu Tao decided then and there to support Chung Jin. He went to the dressing room and meticulously groomed himself, finishing with a spritz of men's cologne. He made himself look dazzling. Of course, the right attire was essential. He needed to maximize all his advantages. "Wait for me, wife," he thought. "I'm coming to back you up." "What? Do I need to show them our marriage certificate?" "Little Chung Jin, are we trading the dessert voucher now?" Approaching with AI Shui was the very friend Chung Jin had just made, AI Shui's younger brother, Eureka. Seeing Eureka, Lu Tao bristled. "You worked so hard to win first place just to give the prize to him?" Chung Jin, seeing Lu Tao's anger, cried out, "Not give. It's a sale. I promised Eureka. Eureka, can I give you the voucher a day later? I want to take my husband to try the desserts first." "Of course, no problem, little Chung Jin. You're so nice. You deliberately dressed like this to seduce men, hoping some blind fool will take you in as a kept man so you can stay on the imperial planet." Just as shame threatened to engulf Chung Jin, Lu Tao's strong, melodious voice cut through the air. The crowd turned to see Admiral Lu Tao approaching, pushing his grandmother in her wheelchair, with Yusi Kue and AI Shui by his side. Before Chung Jin could react, Lu Tao protectively swept him into his arms. "Coming here without telling me?" Chung Jin panicked. "It's over. Everyone knows our relationship now. I've embarrassed him." The woman, Chi, was still unconvinced. "Are you really legal partners?" Admiral Lu Tao is a national heartthrob. While he's admitted to being married, no one knows who his partner is. Most people assume it's just an excuse to avoid pursuers. "What? Do I need to show you our marriage certificate?" Lu Tao's tone, though not harsh, was enough to intimidate Chi. She quickly backpedaled. Life's twists and turns can be a mix of blessings and misfortunes. Yusi Kue, the banquet's host, admired Chung Jin's craftsmanship and politely inquired if Chung Jin would complete the piece and send it to him. Chung Jin readily agreed. With Yusi Kue's endorsement, he could finally establish his own studio. Lu Tao's grandmother, however, was not so pleased. She looked at Chung Jin's outfit with disapproval. "Dressing like this? What are you thinking? Go and change immediately." Yusi Kue quickly intervened. "Sister, the children are just playing a game. Little Jin looks quite cute like this. Let's not interfere." Chung Jin was afraid of upsetting his grandmother, but he stood his ground. "Grandmother, I can't change yet. I promised Lien Shao I'd be his servant for a day. I can't break my word." "Go, husband." The hovercraft race, for most, was more than just a competition. It was a chance to showcase one's charisma. Lu Tao, usually hidden beneath layers of military uniform, caused a stir in the crowd. Unlike the typical, bulky Rigel, he was leaner, yet possessed a sculpted physique, complete with 8-pack abs and a defined V-line. Lu Tao, after inquiring, finally understood why Chung Jin was dressed this way. He regretted not confronting Lien Shao earlier. Seeing that Lu Tao was no longer as angry after hearing his explanation, Chung Jin said that Lien Shao had released him from his servant duties and he was going to change. But Lu Tao stopped him. "No need to change. You look cute like this." And so, Chung Jin spent the rest of the day as Lu Tao's personal maid, cheering him on. For the first time, Chung Jin was by Lu Tao's side in public as his husband. He even thought that Lu Tao might be starting to like him. Perhaps, even after Lu Tao regained his memory, they could still remain remain happily together. The enjoyable day ended, and the two departed in a military drone. Inside the now empty drone, a passionate scene unfolded. Lu Tao pressed his little maid against the cabin door. He had been holding back all day. His costume partner was incredibly enticing. Aren't you worried about flashing anyone dressed so cutely? Hearing Lu Tao's question, Chang Jin, thinking he was angry, quickly explained, I was very careful. I kept holding down my skirt, but this just makes it more tempting. It makes people want to see what's hidden underneath. I like the window. As long as I can see you, I'm happy. The setting made Chang Jin feel a little shy. Their ship would soon arrive home, and the intimacy felt a little awkward here. He softly protested to Lu Tao, no, and lightly pounded his chest with his small fists. Who knew that the usually fearless admiral, so brave against alien invasions, would cling to his partner's hand and whine dramatically about the pain, complete with pleading puppy dog eyes. It instantly softened Chang Jin's heart. Well, we are legally married, right? And we're alone here. So what's the harm? He thought. Come on, husband. My plan worked. Lu Tao, feeling triumphant, suddenly remembered that this position was the one Chang Jin disliked the most. He knew that the old Lu Tao had always refused to let Chang Jin touch him much, and had always insisted on this way. Don't you dislike this? It doesn't matter. I like the window. As long as I can see you, I'm happy. Those simple words from the past made Lu Tao realize how much Chang Jin had endured. All he could do now was try to make up for it. You're so beautiful, darling. This is a new experience. Praise that the old Lu Tao had never given. As Chang Jin cherished every precious moment, Lu Tao noticed his partner's seeming distraction. No, I'm not distracted. I'm thinking about you the whole time. Lu Tao keenly sensed that Chang Jin was thinking of the old Lu Tao. He voiced his suspicion. I love you so much. I try to please you, but you never gave me even a little tenderness. You were always so cold. Don't think about him. I'm jealous. Lu Tao was going crazy. He was insanely jealous of his former self. Despite treating Chang Jin so poorly, still received such intense love. It felt like no matter how hard he tried, he could never measure up. Lu Tao's words startled Chang Jin. Why? It's still you, isn't it? I don't have the old memories. I can't think of us as the same person. So now, you can only think about this childish me. Chang Jin, however, adored this vulnerability. A powerful feeling of being needed welled up inside him. Okay, I'll only think about you. No matter how cold you are to me after you recover, even if you kick me out or divorce me, at least let me selfishly bask in your warmth for now. The ship rapidly ascended, but its owner had set it to automatic orbit mode, allowing their passion to continue for a long time. The next day, at the Sunny Cake shop, Lu Tao and Chang Jin went to enjoy some delicious desserts. They unexpectedly ran into Eureka and AI Shui. Chang Jin had become good friends with Eureka the previous day. It was his first friend since his family's bankruptcy, so he treasured the friendship deeply. AI Shui greeted Lu Tao. Old buddy, mind if we share a table? We are interrupting, aren't we? But it's fine. We're legally married after all, so we have plenty of time together. A subtle tension seemed to flicker between Lu Tao and AI Shui, but Chang Jin and Eureka were completely oblivious. Eureka, the large man, was completely fixated on the Planet 6 keychain that Chang Jin had. He was only missing Planet 6 and the Imperial planet to complete his collection. Wow, that Planet 6 keychain is really nice. Any chance you'd be willing to trade it? Hearing Eureka mention Planet 6, Chang Jin suddenly remembered that his brother had planned to take them there. What's Planet 6 like? It's a pretty ordinary planet. Lower middle class economy for distinct seasons. The water is cold, but it doesn't freeze, so the fish are plump and delicious. AI Shui asked out of pure curiosity. Xiao Jin, didn't you apply to accompany Lu Tao on deployment? Haven't you been to other planets? Although AI Shui meant no harm, his words touched a sore spot for Chang Jin. We landed directly at the base that time, and we returned to the Imperial planet very quickly. Chang Jin's forced smile pained Lu Tao to see. He gently turned Chang Jin's head and wiped away the crumbs from his lips. That will never happen again. Rear Admiral Regal, why have you been keeping such close tabs on me? I've noticed from a schedule that even though we were partners, we didn't socialize much, and we rarely attended the same events. Don't you think we've been running into each other a little too often? Inside the Sunny Cake shop, two massive third wheels stared, dumbfounded, at the couple's blatant display of affection. I won't leave you behind again. Lu Tao lifted Chung Jin's chin. Instead of wiping away the remaining crumbs, he licked them off. Now, I just want to keep you by my side every minute of every day. Here, Xiao Jin, try this. Isn't it delicious? After this, Lu Tao glanced at AI Shui with a hint of defiance, leaving AI Shui utterly speechless. I don't even like your wife. Why are you acting so possessive? So childish. Xiao Jin, I'm going to restroom. Watching Lu Tao turn and walk away, AI Shui also got up and headed towards the restroom. At the sink, AI Shui felt a little awkward as Lu Tao stared at him openly. What's wrong, Admiral? Am I that good looking? You keep staring at me. It's going to make me misunderstand. Why are you watching me? Why would you ask that? I would never watch you. Because there have been too many chance encounters. I checked our schedules. We've been partners, but we haven't had much personal interaction, and we rarely attend the same events. I need an explanation. All right, since you put it that way, but this isn't the place to talk. I need to take you somewhere. Our conclusion is that the toxin didn't cause you to lose your memory, but rather triggered a second personality. The day the toxin is purged is the day this second personality will disappear. Disappear? Then what about my Xiao Jin? AI Shui led Lu Tao to the military hospital. Accompanied by Fairy and AI Shui, Lu Tao learned the truth. Our conclusion is that the toxin didn't cause amnesia, but triggered a second personality. Hearing the doctor reveal this secret, Lu Tao was shocked, but his strong self-control allowed him to calmly listen to the doctor's analysis. We've recently collected your data from this period. There's a significant difference between your data before and after the incident. A personality change would be considered normal, but the fact that you've lost skills you once excelled at and gained new ones you previously lacked is a serious problem. After discovering the anomaly in your data, I asked AI Shui to take you to several competitive events. Your performance was excellent, but in areas vastly different from your usual expertise. AI Shui felt awkward but duty-bound, he reported in detail. After spending this time with Lu Tao, he truly felt like Lu Tao was a different person. Mecha operation and hovercraft racing are my specialties, yet I lost to the Admiral. Please try to recall. Have you experienced anything unusual during this time? Or remembered anything from the past? After some thought, Lu Tao only remembered feeling an inexplicable aversion to Chung Jin's father and brother when he first met them. He also recalled a brief flash of fragmented memories while with Chung Jin. Hearing that Lu Tao had some fragmented memories, the doctor became excited. He inquired carefully whether the memories were from a first-person or third-person perspective. Lu Tao remembered it being a third-person perspective, as if he were an observer witnessing the past. I'm sorry, Admiral, but this further confirms the presence of a dual personality. If it were your memory, it should be from a first-person perspective. As for your unease, it's simply due to extreme. Barring unforeseen circumstances, your current personality, including all memories from this period, will disappear when the toxin is completely purged. I apologize, Admiral. Some individuals experience intense possessiveness towards their partners, leading to jealousy of anyone they share intimacy with. Lu Tao couldn't agree with this. He knew those were Chung Jin's father and brother. Their bond was purely familial. How could his discomfort be jealousy? The doctor's response chilled him to the bone. Jealousy is irrational. Many understand this logically, but emotionally, it's involuntary and uncontrollable. Your possessiveness towards your partner is also drastically different from before. According to my investigation, you were quite indifferent to your partner previously. So indifferent that your partner wanted to file for divorce. What? Xiao Jin filed for divorce? Yes, Admiral. And before returning to the city, you must have made a decision, which is why you and your wife agreed to go somewhere. Admiral Lu Tao, have you experienced any moments of confusion or disorientation since regaining consciousness? Though reluctant to admit it, Lu Tao could only answer truthfully, no. That confirms it. Barring unforeseen circumstances, your current personality, including all memories from this period, will disappear when the toxin is completely purged. However, I still need to conduct a physical examination to ensure the accuracy of the results. Because this Ningzhong toxin possesses characteristics of both werewolves and the Zerg, we need to collect more data from you to document its evolution and prevent them from joining forces against humanity. Admiral Lu Tao, You are currently our only sample. Survival is the instinct of all living things. Even knowing that the self that will disappear will still live on, it won't be the same self. I'm terrified of facing the past Lu Tao. Someone who hasn't tasted sweetness won't find their bitterness particularly bitter. Once they have, it becomes much harder to bear. This room on the second floor, belonging solely to Lu Tao. Every time Qingjin opened the door, he hoped for a pleasant interaction, filled with anticipation, excitement, and a touch of nervousness. A simple, "You're back," and a gentle, smiling face brought Qingjin back to reality. His current husband was so good to him, no longer offering only cold rejection and a heartless back. Lu Tao, returning from the hospital, had been brimming with anxiety, but seeing his partner's vulnerable appearance, his heart ached. He quickly pulled Qingjin into his arms to comfort him. He said he was fine, but Qingjin was silently counting down the time in his heart. For at least 4 months, Lu Tao would care for him, love him, and hold him. He shouldn't be sad, but grateful. He had 4 months, not just 4 months left. "I'm fine. What are you doing here?" Looking at things left behind. But it seems pitifully bare, like no one lives here. Though there are few things, look what I found. Seeing the item in Lu Tao's hand, Qingjin froze. "Why'd you take that out? We used it here before." Although they had been intimate countless times, this room still made Qingjin nervous. It felt like this room demanded solemnity. Even her wedding night had been spent here, but that felt more like checking off a box. Lu Tao, however, didn't carry the same emotional baggage. He pulled the man he loved into his arms. "Have we ever just sat here like this? It's been so many years after all." This line seems out of place and likely belongs to a different scene. It refers to Yu Si Kuei and Qingjin's grandmother. That day, Qingjin finished the socks he had been knitting at Chenghua's party and delivered them to Yu Si Kuei's house as promised. At Yu Si's grandmother's house, Qingjin received a warm welcome. But Yu Si's grandmother brought up the blanket Qingjin had made for his own grandmother. "Your knitting style is exactly the same as the blanket my older sister had on her legs the other day." Caught off guard, Qingjin quickly pleaded, "Please don't tell grandmother. If he knew it was from me, he definitely wouldn't use it." But Yu Si's grandmother told him, "Grandmother already knows." And he wasn't angry when he found out. Qingjin was surprised that his grandmother wasn't angry. For the past 7 years, the few times he'd seen his grandmother, she had never given him a kind look. His opinion of you seems to have changed. Maybe it's time for you to mend your relationship. Seeing how Xiao Tao treats you now, your relationship must be very good. Don't lose heart. What belongs to you, you're slowly grasping. As she spoke, Yu Si's grandmother handed Qingjin an invitation. "I'll invite my older sister over. This is a good opportunity for you to reconcile with him." Qingjin was touched by Yu Si's grandmother's words, but he feared she didn't know how serious his mistake had been. "Grandmother Yu Si, of course I hope he can forgive me, but the mistake our family made was too serious. Dad, to help me, deliberately canceled grandmother's surgery. He originally had a chance to walk on his own 2 legs. It's all my fault." Yu Si Kuei was also helpless about this matter. "I know my older sister is too proud. Years ago, while traveling, he encountered a cosmic storm that shattered his legs. Even though he had financial difficulties, he wouldn't tell our family. He even refused our visits. But it's been so many years. If you're willing to come, I'll mediate for you." "Of course I'm willing. Thank you. Was I not good to you before? It was my fault. My temper was terrible back then. Then I'm too lucky. I've only encountered you at your best." Lu Tao, aware of the truth, and the Lu Tao unaware of the truth, both cherished this moment immensely. For the second personality of Lu Tao, his career seemed to revolve solely around providing experimental data to the military. But in terms of his relationship, there was so much more he could do. "Did we do this much before, career-wise?" Qingjin shook his head. "Not back then." Lu Tao already felt extremely alienated from his former self, and now, knowing he was a second personality, he couldn't see his past and present selves as the same person. Hearing Qingjin say, "Not much," his anxious heart calmed somewhat. So, from that day on, Lu Tao took the initiative to cook for Qingjin. Although he nearly set the kitchen on fire and the food was barely edible, they both felt a happiness they had never experienced before. At night, Lu Tao found classic movies from over the years and watched them with Qingjin until Cheng Jing fell sound asleep. Lu Tao even bought many little dresses and various uniforms. Put them on and show me. Cheng Jing was initially hesitant about Lu Tao's request, but Lu Tao's threat to find someone else to wear them scared Cheng Jing into immediately grabbing them and changing. So began the dress-up game. Lu Tao adored Cheng Jing in all his different outfits, seemingly wanting to etch every image of him into his memory in the limited time they had left. However, these dresses ultimately ended up in the trash. Time always seemed to fly faster when it was sweet. The unspoken moment of their separation drew closer and closer. They cherished each day as if it were their last. Cheng Jing was incredibly happy, but he noticed Lu Tao frequently visiting the military hospital. This made him worry about Lu Tao's health. But Lu Tao jokingly teased, "What kind of problem do you think I could have? Kidney deficiency? It's not impossible, considering how often we've been doing it lately." Hearing Cheng Jin's flippant remark, Lu Tao leaned in. "Do you need me to prove it?" This new Lu Tao was driving Cheng Jin crazy. The formerly serious and composed face, now uttering such brazen words, was intoxicating. "Just go, will you?" It was also the day of the banquet hosted by grandmother Yusi. Cheng Jin hadn't told Lu Tao about it. He didn't want to apologize to his grandmother under Lu Tao's protection. The banquet hall was already full when Cheng Jin arrived. He hurried to apologize, gift in hand, even though he wasn't late. Grandmother Yusi remained gracious, telling him there was no need for apologies. They were simply early, and she adored his gift. As Cheng Jin collected himself, he noticed a familiar face among the guests. Yin Xiaoqi. What was he doing here? The setting wasn't appropriate for inquiries. Lunch concluded, and grandmother Yusi, seeing that Ajia had finished eating, quickly created an opportunity for Cheng Jin. "Xiao Cheng Jin, the weather is lovely. Why don't you take Ajia out for some sunshine?" She turned and smiled at someone across the table. "Aishio, why don't you take Xiaoqi for a stroll as well?" "Of course, grandmother," Yusi Shio replied politely. Cheng Jin, not the sharpest tool in the shed, found Yusi Shio and Yin Xiaoqi's reactions a bit odd. But he was here to apologize to his grandmother, so he dismissed the thought and wheeled her out to the courtyard. "Back then, I truly believe that your desire to marry my grandson was no different from wanting a piece of exquisite jewelry. Your arrogance, willfulness, extravagance, none of it suggested a suitable partner. And your unscrupulous methods to achieve your goals seemed utterly insincere. I saw the news stories about you. Nothing about you impressed me favorably. I truly believe that your desire to marry my grandson was no different from wanting a piece of exquisite jewelry. The only difference being one was a person, the other merely an object. And the most infuriating part was how you used me to manipulate him. How could I possibly like you?" Cheng Jin listened, head bowed in shame, as his grandmother aired her grievances without reservation. "Grandmother, I'm sorry. I know saying it countless times won't change anything, but I still want to apologize. There's no need to cry in front of me. The rift between you and him isn't something my forgiveness can mend." Cheng Jin knew he deserved his grandmother's disapproval, but he hadn't come to reconcile with Lu Tao. He'd come to sincerely apologize to his grandmother. A heartfelt apology, regardless of whether she forgave him, was the right thing to do. He hadn't expected, however, what she said next. "I forgive you." Cheng Jin could hardly believe his ears. Had he misheard? "After all these years, I've seen your changes. Xiao Tao cherished you for 7 years. You didn't stray. Aristocratic marriages prioritize advantage. If Xiao Tao were an ordinary man, without his military rank, no noble family would consider him for marriage, no matter how exceptional or handsome he was. At least you pursued him for love, attracted by his face, not his status." Cheng Jin blushed crimson at his grandmother's words. "It wasn't just his face," he blurted, only to be silenced by her retort. "Wasn't it love at first sight? What else is there besides looks at first sight? Don't tell your brother about this." Reconciling with his grandmother had been Cheng Jin's fervent wish. Before today, he hadn't dared to hope for her forgiveness. He vowed to care for her from now on, to atone for his past mistakes. "All right, push me back inside," as Cheng Jin wheeled his grandmother back. They encountered Yusi Shio and Yin Xiaoqi approaching. Yusi Shio smoothly took over pushing the wheelchair. "Grandmother, are you heading back? Let me push you." Trailing behind, Cheng Jin heard his grandmother ask Yusi Shio, "How did your blind date with Yin Xiaoqi go? Do you think he's suitable?" It suddenly dawned on Cheng Jin. They were on a blind date. "Congratulations, Yin Xiaoqi. You're finally escaping singledom." At his words, Yin Xiaoqi stopped, turning to glare at Cheng Jin. Don't tell your brother about this. Cheng Jin was taken aback. What did his brother have to do with Yin Xiaoqi's blind date? He decided Yin Xiaoqi must be crazy. I have to go. Tell them I left. Meanwhile, at the military hospital, congratulations, Admiral. You're one step closer to a full recovery. Toxin removal at 62%. Research progress at 35%. Vital signs normal. Memory stable. We anticipate complete toxin elimination within 3 months. Lu Tao was reviewing the medical data as his colleague, Admiral Morse, approached. Are the research results in, Lu Tao? Morse took the report, scanning it with a sigh. You're the beacon of hope for the peace movement right now. The development of a toxin-cleansing weapon depends entirely on the changes in your body. I'll cooperate fully. Actually, there's no need to dwell on it. Your current symptoms are no different from amnesia. It's just that now you've forgotten the past, and in the future, you might forget this period too. It seemed everyone aware of the situation believed the toxin-induced secondary personality was just an illness. No one considered the fact that my current self disappearing in a few months would be a bad thing, except for me. And the one person who would care, I didn't want him to know. The next data submission should be in half a month. During this time, perhaps you could take your partner on a trip to another planet. A change of scenery. Admiral Morse's words finally lifted Lu Tao's spirits. I was just thinking about that. Time is short. There are only 3 months left. I want to create as many memories with Xiao Jing as possible, so I won't have any regrets. Can you spare a week for me? You love honey grapes, and you've never traveled through space, so... Lu Tao hadn't finished speaking when Cheng Jin agreed. Heaven knew that traveling with his husband had been a dream of his for years. He was beyond thrilled. Their own private world, seeing breathtaking scenery, tasting local delicacies. This would definitely rank in the top 3 of his most cherished memories. So happy. Then what are we waiting for? Let's pack our bags. A little packing interlude. How about that? Honey, you're the best. Bring this, we'll need it. Better bring plenty of little umbrellas for you. Hey, you're doing this on purpose. You're so bad. On the day of their departure, Lu Tao brought his homebuddy partner to the station, carefully explaining everything to him. The total journey is 12 hours, and that's including folded space travel. Otherwise, it would take half a month just for a one-way trip. So, are we about to enter folded space? Well, I feel dizzy inside. Yes, and we might cease to exist. Lu Tao's words sent Cheng Jin into a sudden panic. So, Lu Tao, with a perfectly serious expression, began to teach Cheng Jin emergency procedures. First, you need to hug a stable object, and your husband is currently the most stable one. Cheng Jin immediately followed his instructions and quickly asked, "What's next?" To reduce the impact on your spine, you need to stand on your tiptoes. Cheng Jin complied. And then, a certain big bad wolf devoured his little white rabbit. Only after being thoroughly kissed did Cheng Jin come back to his senses. Oh, you did that on purpose. You're so bad. Lu Tao quickly settled him back into his seat. All right, I'm sorry. But it's true that things can cease to exist in folded space-time. We would no longer exist in this world. Seeing Cheng Jin's worried expression, Lu Tao quickly comforted him. After all, it's a very small probability. Let's see what interesting programs they have on the starship. Lu Tao's intention was to distract Cheng Jin from his nervousness. He didn't expect that as soon as he turned on the TV, such a provocative scene would appear. Cheng Jin was a little embarrassed in the public space, but Lu Tao didn't think it was a big deal. Besides, he also wanted to see his partner's adorable, shy reaction. It's fine, look, there's no one around. A distant explosion startled Cheng Jin, and he clung tightly to Lu Tao. The joy of their trip began the moment they set off. Lu Tao seized every opportunity to tease his partner, and afterwards, he attentively catered to Cheng Jin's needs. Cheng Jin didn't even have to lift a finger. Although the station on Rizhao planet was grand and imposing, the scenery was quite different from what Cheng Jin had imagined. A few old-fashioned cars he'd never seen before were driving here and there on the bumpy ground. Faced with such an environment immediately after leaving the advanced station, Cheng Jin couldn't help but ask Lu Tao worriedly, "Did we come to the wrong place?" Darling, a part of Rizhao planet is very flat and unsuitable for planting, so it's used for public spaces. Just as Lu Tao finished explaining, a driver came running over to solicit customers. "We're going to the Sunny Hotel." Lu Tao quickly negotiated with the taxi driver. The two of them then got into the car, which looked like it belonged at a scrapyard. The car drove through rows of grape trellises, making Cheng Jin's eyes widen. The honey grapes that were so expensive on the Imperial planet were everywhere here. Seeing Cheng Jin's shocked expression, Lu Tao dotingly drew his attention back. Little glutton, craving some already? Used to riding in driverless cars, Cheng Jin felt a little uncomfortable with a stranger in the car at first. But the friendly driver turned around and started introducing local specialties. If you want to eat some, you could just pick them. I'll open the roof for you. Even the driver noticed Cheng Jin's almost drool-worthy expression of longing. He felt a little embarrassed, worried that his awestruck demeanor would make Lu Tao lose face. But Lu Tao's actions quickly dispelled any such concerns. Lu Tao, supporting Cheng Jin's backside with one hand and his waist with the other, lifted him right out of the car through the open sunroof. The warm wind ruffled their hair as the sweet scent of grapes drifted around them. Lush, inviting bunches hung all around. Their idyllic moment was short-lived, however. Just as they were enjoying themselves, a loud boom echoed in the distance, followed by a burst of fire rising into the sky. A massive plume of fire and smoke billowed upwards. Lu Tao abruptly pulled Cheng Jin back into the car, shielding him in his arms. Cheng Jin, still disoriented from the sudden change of scene, stammered, asking what had happened. Lu Tao, already sensing something unusual, suspected a riot might have broken out. Despite the potential unrest on Rizhao Planet, Cheng Jin and Lu Tao arrived safely at the Sunny Hotel. Lu Tao checked them in at the front desk. Cheng Jin, however, was still shaken by the explosion. Is it serious? Why would there be a riot? He asked. Rizhao Planet universally follows the celestial god religion, Lu Tao explained. It's divided into Eastern and Western factions. They used to alternate in power, but for the past year, due to some conflicts, they've refused to relinquish control, leading to this unrest. This incident isn't major, so don't worry. This hotel is still safe. It's just that we won't be able to go sightseeing for the next few days. Aren't you going to intervene? Cheng Jin asked, puzzled. Given Lu Tao's personality, he expected him to head straight to the local military headquarters. The Imperial Planet will send troops to handle it. I'm on vacation. There's no need for me to get involved. Lu Tao's response struck Cheng Jin as odd. It was a significant departure from his usual way of doing things. Noticing Cheng Jin's pensive expression, Lu Tao reached out and pinched his cheek. You've had a long day. Let's get some rest soon. Cheng Jin, easily distracted, was immediately diverted. The hotel room also lifted his spirits. He had been worried after seeing the environment on Rizhao Planet. Although the journey was only a few hours, Lu Tao had certainly kept him busy. The sight of the soft bed now filled him with utter contentment. It's a shame the last temporary tattoo washed off, Lu Tao said. How about a permanent one? One that belongs only to me. Seeing Cheng Jin's dumbfounded expression, Lu Tao continued his coaxing. Be my personal exclusive. Let your husband mark you, okay? Cheng Jin wanted to protest about the pain, but Lu Tao's expression, like a forlorn puppy abandoned by its owner, left him with no choice but to agree. Won't you regret it? Lu Tao asked. Cheng Jin immediately nodded, reassuring Lu Tao that he absolutely wouldn't. As soon as Cheng Jin confirmed, Lu Tao practically flew to the suitcase and began rummaging through it, making it clear to even the less perceptive Cheng Jin that this had been premeditated. Looking at the array of small needles, Cheng Jin gulped. But for his beloved husband, he had no regrets. Are you doing it yourself? He asked. What do you think? Lu Tao replied. Do you think I'd let anyone else see your body, touch your skin? But can you do it? Cheng Jin questioned. Don't worry, Lu Tao reassured him. I've been practicing in secret. Now, lift your shirt and lie down obediently. Cheng Jin dutifully lay on the bed, exposing his smooth back. Despite Lu Tao's practice and attempts at gentleness, the needles still pierced his skin. Cheng Jin gasped to the first prick. He tried to endure the pain. This was what his husband wanted, and he was determined to satisfy him. Watching Cheng Jin's delicate features contort slightly, Lu Tao felt a pang of guilt. But he couldn't resist the urge to leave a mark before. Well before. Cheng Jin was what he most wanted to hold on to. Just bear with it for a little while, my sweet, he murmured. They say a man looks most captivating when he's focused on his work. Cheng Jin had never seen Lu Tao at work in his usual capacity. As he gradually adjusted to the stinging sensation, he found himself drawn to Lu Tao's concentrated expression. No matter what the future held, this mark Lu Tao was giving him would stay with him forever. Property of Lu Tao, he inscribed on Chung Jin's lower back, his personal mark of ownership. Admiring his handiwork, he couldn't help but breathe, beautiful. Overcome with emotion, Lu Tao leaned close to Chung Jin, whispering in his ear, "Now that you're marked, you're not allowed to leave me." "I won't," Chung Jin replied. "I'll always be yours." And silently, in his heart, he added, "As long as you still want me." 5 days later, Rizhao Planet had returned to its bustling, vibrant state. Lu Tao and Chung Jin strolled hand in hand, taking in the exotic atmosphere. Lu Tao explained various historical anecdotes to his sheltered companion. The Sunny Hotel, originally a small-scale experimental venture, spurred economic development in the surrounding area. "I registered the Sunny trademark and opened a chain of hotels worldwide." Chung Jin was astonished. He hadn't realized that the bully who had once tormented him was so accomplished. He also wondered, though, just how much Lu Tao loved the sun. Chung Jin drifted off again, lost in thought. Lu Tao snapped him back to reality with a flick to the forehead. "Come on," he said, "let's make the most of our time." Laughter and chatter filled the air as they wandered through the bustling streets and alleyways. Playful and carefree, they bickered like children, savoring every moment. The past misunderstandings, the lost memories, the worries about the future all vanished from their minds. In that moment, they saw only each other, their hearts overflowing with love. Chung Jin playfully raised a small fist at Lu Tao. Lu Tao, shedding his admiral persona, brandished a broom handle like a sword, turning dramatically. His attention was then caught by a weapons stall. Chung Jin, however, had spotted a distant vendor selling wool. "I'm just going to have a quick look over there," he said. Lu Tao, ever watchful, replied, "Don't go too far." Chung Jin, already captivated by the colorful yarns, assured him, "It's fine. We have our location shared on Guangping." Chung Jin marveled at the intricate knitting patterns, so different from those of the Imperial planet. "Excuse me," he asked the elderly stall owner, "how do you create such beautiful designs?" But as so often happens, the unexpected struck. "Lu Tao, help me. Lu Tao, help me." Just moments before, Chung Jin had been basking in the joy of learning a new knitting technique from the kind stall owner. His happiness was short-lived. A sudden commotion erupted from the crowd. Someone shouted, "The Eastern faction is attacking." Panic spread like wildfire as people scrambled for cover. The stall owner quickly packed her bag, urging Chung Jin to flee. But Chung Jin, frozen with fear, had never experienced anything like this. His legs felt weak, his body numb. All he could do was desperately search for Lu Tao. Thankfully, Lu Tao remained calm and tried to contact Chung Jin through his Guangping device. "Xiao Jin, where are you?" Before Chung Jin could answer, the signal cut out. He frantically tapped the screen, trying to reconnect. Armed men, brandishing knives and clubs, closed in. Chung Jin was jostled and shoved by the fleeing crowd. Screams and cries of pain filled the air. He saw someone fall, slashed by a blade, but he was powerless to help. "Lu Tao, where are you?" he whimpered, running blindly. Inevitably, he collided with someone. The man turned, raising an axe. "You clumsy fool," he snarled. "You asked for this." The axe head was barely an inch from Chung Jin's skull. He braced himself for the agonizing blow. But as he cried out Lu Tao's name, a hand appeared, gripping the attacker's wrist. It was Lu Tao. With a powerful twist, he disarmed the man. A swift kick sent the attacker sprawling to the ground. Lu Tao grabbed Chung Jin's hand, pulling him away. "We need to get out of here." "Wait," he began, his voice trailing off. "That man is..." One moment, he was saying how dangerous it was to get involved in another planet's factional disputes, wanting only to get Chung Jin to safety. The next, he was charging towards the rioters, his back a familiar yet strangely alien silhouette. Lu Tao, having rescued Chung Jin, wanted to get him to safety. But Chung Jin spotted their driver from their arrival on Rizhao Planet, struggling against a group of thugs. With Lu Tao by his side, Chung Jin's fear had subsided. He turned to Lu Tao, pleading, "We have to help him." Lu Tao clearly wanted no part in it. "Xiao Jin," he said, "getting involved in these local disputes is dangerous." Chung Jin, his gaze fixed on the injured driver, disagreed. He didn't notice Lu Tao suddenly stumble, raising a hand to his forehead as if in pain. Unable to stand by, Chung Jin turned back to Lu Tao, reaching for him. "Husband," he began, but stopped, a sense of unease washing over him. The look in Lu Tao's eyes was distant, confused. "Husband, what's wrong?" Before Ching Jin could touch his face, Lu Tao turned away, his voice suddenly cold. I'm fine. He turned to his Guangping, contacting the local military for assistance. After issuing orders, he grabbed a sword from a nearby stall and headed towards the rioters. Over his shoulder, he simply said, "Stay here." The tone, curt, detached, yet strangely reassuring, was so familiar to Cheng Jin. But emanating from that same body, it felt different, distinct from the husband he'd known these past few months of Lu Tao's amnesia. "Help! It's dangerous out there. Where are you going?" Lu Tao, a seasoned warrior, moved through the rioters with practiced ease. Amidst the chaos, a desperate cry reached his ears. His heart leaped into his throat. The person about to be struck down by a death scythe was Cheng Jin, his husband of 7 years. Cheng Jin, with a surge of adrenaline, ran towards him. Lu Tao, who had been some distance away, suddenly appeared, his combat prowess unleashed. He arrived before Cheng Jin could be harmed in the skirmish, swiftly taking down the attacker. The tension that had gripped his features vanished, replaced by a calm demeanor as he gently embraced Cheng Jin, murmuring, "It's all right now." Cheng Jin looked up, his gaze tracing the sharp lines of Lu Tao's jaw. He was utterly captivating. Any lingering unease from the recent chaos dissolved, leaving only a deep infatuation. Lu Tao escorted Cheng Jin and the driver back to the hotel. After arranging for a doctor, he immediately contacted the military headquarters on Rizhao Planet. "Admiral Lu Tao, what are your orders?" A voice crackled through the comm. "Assemble the troops and stand by. Prepare riot control gear. I'll be there in 15 minutes. Cheng Jin watched Lu Tao's every move. Seeing him turn towards the door, a sudden realization struck him. Lu Tao was leaving. But since their return to the hotel, Lu Tao hadn't spoken a single word to him. Cheng Jin rose and caught Lu Tao's hand, wanting to say something, anything, though he wasn't sure what. Why was Lu Tao leaving without a word? He hadn't been like this in months. Lu Tao, turning back to Cheng Jin, simply asked, "What is it? Where are you going?" Cheng Jin asked, "To stop the riot?" The words were clipped, devoid of warmth, as Lu Tao pulled his hand away. The retreating figure felt so familiar, powerful, cold, revered by many, yet so distant. Could it be? Has Lu Tao regained his memory? Cheng Jin wondered aloud. Lu Tao strode resolutely into the chaotic streets, his back straight and strong. But the way he looked at me just now, it was the same look from before he lost his memory, the one I saw for 7 years. It was so familiar. Could he really have recovered his memory? Cheng Jin refused to believe it, telling himself he was overthinking. Just then, his wristband chimed with an incoming call from his brother. "Oh no," he thought, "my brother doesn't know I'm on Rizhao Planet." Cheng Jin forced down the rising panic about Lu Tao's potential memory recovery. He needed to compose himself. His brother couldn't find out. But his brother's voice, sharp with worry, cut through his thoughts. "Xiao Jin, are you and Lu Tao on Rizhao Planet? Why did you go so far without telling me? I heard there's a riot, and it's reached the area where you're staying. Are you all right?" Faced with his brother's rapid-fire questions, Cheng Jin quickly replied, "We've been in our room the whole time. We haven't gone out, so we haven't encountered anything." Suddenly, Yin Qi appeared on the screen, instantly contradicting him. "Liar, I saw you in the recent security footage." Cheng Jin stared at Yin Qi in surprise. "How are you with my brother?" he demanded. His brother, not wanting Cheng Jin to know about their relationship, pushed Yin Qi's hand away. "Guai Bao," he said to Cheng Jin, "tell me honestly, are you hurt?" Cheng Jin immediately stood up and turned in a circle, showing his brother that he was unharmed. Cheng Jin had grown up. He now knew how to shield his family from worry. He hadn't wanted to tell his brother about the riot, but that annoying Yin Qi had spilled the beans. Still, seeing his brother's concern, his resolve weakened. Yin Qi's voice, laced with impatience, cut through the moment. "I said 10 minutes. You're already way over. Are you not satisfied with just chatting with him? Do you want to fly over there and see him right now?" Cheng Jin never would have imagined that the brother he respected so much would be in such a precarious situation. Seeing his brother's call, even through the screen, he couldn't help but seek his comfort. After all, his brother was so intelligent and capable. "Brother," he asked, his voice laced with anxiety, "do you think Lu Tao might have regained his memory? The way he acted when he left, it was just like before. But he shouldn't have regained his memory. Dr. Tian Chi has never misdiagnosed anyone. There are still more than 2 months left." Cheng Jin's attempt at self-reassurance was interrupted by his brother's pragmatic response. Even if someone loses their memory, their personality shouldn't change that drastically, should it? Suddenly, an exciting thought struck Cheng Jin. That's right, it's the same person. His personality can't have changed that much. A surge of hope filled him. "Brother," he said, his voice brighter. After he lost his memory, he said he fell in love with me at first sight. He's been so good to me. Could it be that he actually liked me all along, but just didn't show it? His brother, not wanting Cheng-Jin to get his hopes up only to be hurt, tried to temper his enthusiasm. Why wouldn't he have shown it before? Did something happen between you that makes you think he liked you? Cheng-Jin blushed, looking down. Maybe, deep down, he did like me a little. Otherwise, why would he be so good to me after losing his memory? He doesn't have his old memories, and you cater to his every whim. Of course, his feelings towards you are different. His brother's words were a harsh dose of reality. Seeing his brother's pained expression, Cheng-Jin's brother softened slightly. "Just enjoy these next 2 months," he said gently. "In the future, you'll definitely find someone who truly loves you and have a real relationship. You're so childish. He's my brother. Of course I care about him. Your eyes and your heart should only have room for me." Dian Chi couldn't fathom Cheng-Jin's brother's animosity towards him. It had been brewing since childhood. He'd grown up watching his own brother treat him with utter disdain, while Cheng-Jin was perpetually spoiled rotten. He'd always fantasized about Cheng-Jin being his brother, wondering if he too could be as happy as Cheng-Jin seemed. Later, when he confronted his true feelings, his jealousy towards Cheng-Jin intensified, burning like a wildfire. He knew Cheng-Jin was just Cheng-Su's younger brother, but he desperately wanted Cheng-Su's attention to shift away from Cheng-Jin and onto himself. He wanted to be reflected in Cheng-Su's eyes. But he'd failed. Now, this was the only way he could make Cheng-Su see him. Meanwhile, Cheng-Jin lay awake, restless. He worried about Lu Tao's safety and felt a pang of sadness after his brother's pointed words. He drifted off on the sofa after an indeterminate amount of time. A click of the door latch startled Cheng-Jin awake. He blinked sleepily and saw Lu Tao standing there. In an instant, all his worries vanished. "Lu Tao," he cried out. Before Lu Tao could even take off his shoes, Cheng-Jin flew across the room and into his arms, burying himself against Lu Tao's solid warmth. "You're finally back. Are you hurt?" Lu Tao's body stiffened, but Cheng-Jin, completely oblivious, continued his barrage of questions. "Is the riot over? Are you okay? I was so scared. I've never seen anything like that. It was terrifying. Kiss me, hubby." Cheng-Jin didn't wait for Lu Tao to bend down. He stood on his tiptoes, eager for Lu Tao's touch. He desperately needed to feel Lu Tao's warmth. But Lu Tao gripped his shoulders and gently pushed him away. Cheng-Jin looked at him, confusion clouding his features. Lu Tao averted his gaze for a moment, turning to unbutton his shirt. "I'm going to take a shower." He took a couple of steps, but Cheng-Jin reminded him, "The bathroom's that way. Can I come with you? I can wash your hair and scrub your back." Lu Tao felt a flicker of discomfort at Cheng-Jin's closeness. He pushed him away again, then, seemingly regretting the action, offered a hasty excuse. "I need to get my clothes." He took another couple of steps before Cheng-Jin pointed out that he wasn't heading towards their bedroom, where their clothes were kept. A flush of embarrassment crept up his neck, but his iron self-control and unflappable composure allowed him to smoothly adjust his excuse. "I'm going to get my clothes," he repeated, this time heading in the right direction. Cheng-Jin, though slightly puzzled, couldn't quite put his finger on what fell off. Cheng-Jin, however, knew exactly what he wanted. He dashed into the bedroom and wrapped his arms around Lu Tao's waist, nuzzling against him. "Can I come with you? I can wash your hair and scrub your back," he repeated, his voice a soft purr. Lu Tao couldn't understand Cheng-Jin's sudden forwardness, but the Admiral's logic was formidable. Sometimes, the reasons didn't matter. They could be pondered later. The immediate gratification, however, was something to be seized. A simple "okay" transformed Cheng-Jin into a cheerful, flitting bird. By the time Cheng-Jin had almost filled the tub, Lu Tao had composed himself and entered the bathroom. He paused at the doorway, however, frozen in place. Cheng-Jin looked back at him curiously. "Aren't you going to take your clothes off?" A rare sight unfolded. Lu Tao, like a newlywed bride, seemed shy. It wasn't entirely his fault, though. After all, this wasn't the shameless second personality. His previous encounters with Cheng-Jin had always been in darkness, their physical contact precise and purposeful. Cheng-Jin finished preparing the bath and glanced at Lu Tao. A strange, almost first love-like flutter filled the air. It was odd. Their past interactions had always been sizzling with passion. Sensing Chung Jin's gaze, Lu Tao haughtily turned his head away. Was he still angry? There was nothing for it. Was he still angry? There was nothing for it. Chung Jin waited, but Lu Tao made no move to undress. Aren't you going to bathe? He asked, puzzled. Lu Tao still avoided his gaze. Go ahead. You can soak on your own. This was the second time Lu Tao had rebuffed him since returning. Even Chung Jin, despite his usual obliviousness, couldn't miss the stiffness in Lu Tao's demeanor. His thought process, however, led him to believe that Lu Tao was angry because he'd run off and almost gotten hurt. He cautiously approached Lu Tao. Are you mad at me? When Lu Tao remained silent, Chung Jin couldn't take it anymore. He threw himself into Lu Tao's arms, clinging tightly. It was an emergency. I couldn't reach you, and I couldn't find you. I got pushed into the crowd and somehow got caught up in the fighting. But Lu Tao rejected him for the third time. Though he said, just make sure it doesn't happen again, Chung Jin interpreted it as lingering anger. He racked his brain for a way to appease him. Lu Tao was taken aback by Chung Jin's actions, but this time, he couldn't bring himself to push him away. He simply endured the embrace. I'm not afraid of dying, Chung Jin whispered, his voice thick with emotion. I'm just afraid of never seeing you again. Lu Tao's hand, which had been hovering over Chung Jin's hair, stilled. Then, he gently stroked the back of Chung Jin's head, his heart softening. The water in the bathtub was warm and comforting. But Lu Tao noticed something different about his partner. There was a string of letters on Chung Jin's lower back. He rubbed at it hard with his hand, but it remained unchanged, pristine. A personal inscription? Whose personal inscription? Lu Tao's intense emotional fluctuation made Chung Jin turn his head curiously and ask, what's wrong? Weren't you always excited every time you saw the mark you left with your own hands? You were so happy last night, weren't you? Let me see. Lu Tao had discovered the mark on Chung Jin. Although his last memory was of returning to the Earth Core Stone and being heavily impacted after waking up, based on where he was, the city guard's attitude, and her fragmented words, he could deduce a few things. First, his body was fine. Second, his position in the military hadn't changed. Third, his relationship with his partner had become very intimate. Fourth, Chung Jin hadn't been unfaithful. Although he should have contacted Fairy immediately after dealing with the riot to understand the situation, he didn't know why, but he just wanted to return to the hotel to see Chung Jin first. And then, he just didn't want to leave. Where are you going? We're not finished yet. I'm going to get a condom. But haven't you been stopping me from using them lately? Besides, you've already used up the ones we brought. Listening to Chung Jin's words, Lu Tao didn't know how he felt. Although he had confirmed that his partner hadn't cheated, he had no memory of the intimate moments Chung Jin described. No matter how he tried to rationalize it, he still felt like he'd been cheated on. So he stopped holding back, channeling all his frustration into action. The water in the bath sloshed violently. Chung Jin had already been quite frightened today, and coupled with Lu Tao's strange behavior, although he didn't understand what was happening, his attachment to Lu Tao deepened. So he murmured, I really like you like this now. But Lu Tao pressed further. How much? More than before. Lu Tao stopped asking, but the water in the tub churned even more fiercely, as if there was no place for him there anymore. The next day, the sun was shining brightly. Lu Tao was already awake. He was a little confused. How had he gotten from the riot to the bed? But he quickly came to his senses because Chung Jin's clinging was too obvious. Finally, Chung Jin, unable to bear the disturbance any longer, even though he hadn't slept enough, opened his eyes to see what this energetic man was up to. What's wrong? Didn't you have enough last night? Hearing this, Lu Tao's face darkened. You were so happy last night, weren't you? Chung Jin recalled everything from last night. It had indeed been a better experience. He couldn't help but blush. I didn't expect you to be like that. Let me see, Lu Tao said, and went to lift the covers. Chung Jin didn't resist letting him look, but he was too tired and soon fell asleep again on the bed, completely unaware of Lu Tao's conflicted and turbulent emotions behind him. Dear friends, this is all I can update for now. You can go read the complete comic. Also, for those who want me to continue updating, don't forget to like the pinned short comic video. If possible, I will bring you more exciting follow-ups. A boy eats a meal for the first time in 20 years. He doesn't even know how to use chopsticks. It's also his first time wearing shoes. He holds a new shoes, unable to sleep for a long time. Mingi thinks his hard days are finally over, but he doesn't know he's about to be betrayed by his family and forced to marry the monstrous Shitsi as a bride. As a result, he suffers inhumane treatment every night because Mingi is bound by his family. He has been called a bastard since childhood. His family made him the guardian of the ancestral graves. He stayed in the back mountains for 10 years. He could only go back once a month to get food, and it was only scorched rice crusts. Mingi always had someone in his heart. However, just as he was thinking of that person, the remaining rice crusts were stolen by a squirrel. He had to go down the mountain a few days early, but his family deliberately made things difficult for him. They even complained that he ate too fast and said it didn't matter if someone like him starved to death. Because Mingi hadn't been turned into a jiangshi, he naturally wasn't considered part of the family. At this moment, his body trembled slightly. It was his father, who never showed him any affection, who appeared. Mingi could only address him as Master Jinshi. Mingi was unexpectedly invited into a guest room, and for the first time, he changed into clean, dry clothes. He pinched himself to make sure he wasn't dreaming. The steaming hot food made his mouth water, and his father had prepared all of this just to ask Mingi for a favor. This left Mingi utterly astonished. His father said that after this matter was settled, Mingi would be officially recognized as part of the family. He would finally be a legitimate young master of the Jiang family. Mingi was dumbfounded. Before this, his father hadn't acknowledged him. He had even nearly beaten Mingi to death, rolled up in a straw mat, for daring to call him father. He couldn't understand his father's sudden change of heart, but filled with gratitude, he agreed. After all, this meant he could stay in the Jiang family and finally become true brothers with Qinghe. Mingi was still unaware of what awaited him. He spent the next 2 days laughing and playing with his younger brother. His brother was the only one who didn't treat him with disdain. And Mingi, after so long, finally smiled. But he didn't know that within this luxurious house, the family was plotting something. At the head of the conspiracy was his monstrous father. The appointed day arrived. Mingi said goodbye to his brother. When he returned, he would be a true older brother. He set off with hopeful expectations, arriving at the room his father had indicated. But as soon as he stepped inside, he was knocked unconscious. The pain in his back jolted him awake. A witch was drawing something on his back. Mingi was gripped by an uncomprehending fear. He groped forward, pleading with the person before him, but he was met only with the sounds of scorn and disgust. Mingi knew that voice all too well. It was his father, the one who had just made him promises. And now, he was calling him a bastard again. Mingi couldn't believe he'd been tricked. He had been so close to being accepted as family. The witch mocked his foolishness, and with a slap, she told him he was going to be a bride, sent to serve that useless Shitsi. Mingi was plunged into utter despair. When Mingi was delivered to the Shitsi's residence, he thought he wouldn't survive the night. But unexpectedly, the Shitsi, the one everyone called strange, showed him a kindness he had never known. At that time, he didn't yet know that the Shitsi was normal during the day. But once night fell, he transformed into an uncontrollable beast.